You're listening to the Indy 500 podcast, where each week we break down a different randomly selected album from Enemy Magazine's top 500 albums of all time list. This week's album is Purple Rain by Prince. It was fine.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I mean...
All right, hit that outro music, unless you've got to meet me in the bathroom to drop, or...
I mean, I guess not. I mean, I can't think of anything purple food-wise. I mean, maybe beets or something.
They had that purple ketchup for a while back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw some purple cauliflower at Whole Foods the other day, too. But,
yeah.
I mean, on that note, thanks for listening. Oh. Wait, okay. I'm being handed a note by our producer. Okay. This week, we'll be taking a proverbial victory lap and looking back on the first season of our show, our favorite moments, highlights, and what this journey has brought to our lives, as well as look forward to the second season. Let's see how many times we'll say it in this episode, but thank you, the listener, for giving us your time and your ears. We'd be talking like this even if it was just us, but it makes it even more special to share it with y'all. Please leave us a review, a rating, or find us on TikTok to see what we're listening to on a daily basis. Or, if some chud is out there slandering us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, enjoy the show.
One, two. Shot two. Okay.
Check. Checking our mics. So for our opening question of this episode, the question is, what's your favorite episode we've done so far? And so for me, or for both of us, I'm going to immediately set aside all of our interview episodes, and I'm not fibbing when I say I do love all of the interview episodes we've had, and I'm super grateful, that anyone would give our, project the time of day and to come in and talk to us. And
I think, yeah, you and I are of the state of mind where we could turn this into a straight up interview show and we'd be thrilled.
Oh yeah. I
mean, that in itself is just fun, let alone us doing our own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. If it ever came to that, I don't think, we wouldn't be sad. But yeah, like so far, I feel like picking between any of them would be like choosing favorite children. So one more time, thanks to all of them. Hopefully all of them here, in order of appearance. You read this first one off because I don't know how to pronounce the name.
Well, it's Joe, and he used a alias or his last name, basically.
Oh, okay, good.
The new wave of British heavy metal.
Okay, I kind of get that.
But a friend of mine, Joe Anzalone, came on to talk Aussie with me. One of our first guest conversations, and it's definitely kind of sad and ominous that he passed. Right after that concert, we basically spent an hour talking about, after it was announced. So heavy stuff.
Yeah, but that was the episode that kind of established the fact that we can interview people and like talk to other people, and also it also established the Pit Stop series where we said, maybe we should be allowed to break away from the format and maybe not number it a mainline episode, but have these different things to do.
And in true punk fashion, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want, to be honest, until the man tells us otherwise. Yeah.
Continuing on, our very first NME writer and person who had actually contributed to the list, Alan Woodhouse, came on and talked to us.
I guess this goes without thoughts via Blue Sky.
Yeah, I guess without. Yep. And it should go without saying, but like, go back and listen to all of these because there's some of the best. Yeah. We're trying to pick our favorite episode, but these are all super good. We've also had, I want to say, at least twice, our shadow host Rick Quinn, who's actually a childhood friend of ours. He chimes in every now and then.
Joined us for Gillian Welch and OK Computer.
Correct. I think so. I think that's it so far. Our second enemy writer who we got to
As
talk
well
to.
as let us not forget the live coverage of the Grateful
Correct,
Dead uprising from the
Yep.
sphere.
Yeah. Oh,
On
yes.
the,
So he feature, that's a Spinal Tap episode, right?
the critically acclaimed
He
Spinal
looms,
Tap.
he looms very large in that one. That's
Yeah.
maybe my favorite bit that we've done.
Bit.
Our favorite bit of breaking news, that is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Our second enemy writer that we got to talk to, Mr. David Renshaw, who reminded us slightly of our age, and also explained to us what was it, Six Music Dads, or was it Music Six Dads?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
Six Music Dads. Yep.
Six Music Dads. He explained to us what that is and how we are them. We also have, I believe this is the Krautrock trio of interviews you had done: Alex Henkel,
Yes.
Kyle Reif, and Alex Cowling.
Correct.
Those are all awesome, and kind of expanded what was one episode into like a whole universe, basically.
Yeah, if you didn't hear it and you have any interest at all in like figuring out what krautrock is beyond like Kraftwerk, check that run out. It was definitely enlightening for us and me personally. Like it ranks high up there on my board in just terms of like, whoa, there's so much more here than just some guys in silly suits banging on a synthesizer. There's a whole scene to it, and there's not a definitive sound. So really cool. Grateful for those guys, really just guiding the way and opening a whole new world to us.
Yep. We also had Michelle Catalano from the website I have that on vinyl.com. She talked to us about what she had shortly before that had declared was her favorite album, which was a little bit of a scoop. If you follow her on Blue Sky or on her site, that's she has no shortage of choices in music to be able to pull from and talk about and think about. And it was lucky for us that we had, we randomly
fortuitous. Yeah.
We get these albums randomly handed to us by the random numbers generator in the list. And we kind of fortuitously like grab that album, Aztec Cameras, Highland Hard Rain, like right at about the same time that I had seen her posting about that. So it was like the perfect time to talk that album with somebody who loves it. After her, we've had two-timer guest, Professor Rave, Mr. Martin James.
Oh, poor bastard.
Who will definitely be back, likely soon, whenever we decide to break format. I think he was the guy who made us first decide to grab an album off the list that we didn't actually randomly roll, because we were like, this guy is the Prodigy's like personal biographer, basically.
Yeah,
I think we're allowed.
Yeah, his stories, his knowledge are just incredible, and like,
yeah, he's cool as all.
I sit there some days thinking, just like cooking up ways in the back of my mind, like, how can we get him on more? What else
we will.
How can I connect him to like this album this week? Oh shit, I can't. Okay, well, maybe next week.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, we're just gonna skip right to Fat of the Land from the Prodigy and get him right back.
Yeah.
Next up was another kind of jaw-dropping interview that I didn't expect. Really, it was Dr. Nicholas Baham from the Church of Coltrane. That one kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that to be, that might be our like deepest episode.
For as much as we portray ourselves as two chuckleheads, that was a very introspective and deep week, and that'll definitely go up on the mantle as like a very fond moment, and great interview, and just. Yeah,
it was like the perfect follow-up. It was like a perfect follow-up to the album, which was John Coltrane's "A Love Supreme."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like the story and where that album comes from. Like that was the perfect way to follow it up, and maybe one of the most perfect people to talk to about it. Really,
yeah, and really just the effects of what amazing music can do to inspire people, and really just bring good into the universe. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody has that claim, but certainly that Coltrane album and John Coltrane himself made a mark. And, these people are still, in a church dedicated to him. The idea of a saint, streaming their broadcasts on Facebook from their Sunday services. I mean, unreal.
Yeah. Our third enemy writer, and the last one on the roster, I believe, Mr. Al Horner, from the much bigger and much better podcast, Script Apart. It was number one, it was a ton of fun talking with him, but number two, like we check in on his podcast every once in a while, and like every single time we'll like text each other and be like, look who Al is talking to right now.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
I know he talked to us about, grabbing guests and stuff like that, but even like it almost always seems personal to us. Like the last one I remember you texted me was Noah Hawley, talking to him about Alien Earth, and we're both really big fans of the show that Noah did right before that, Legion.
And so Alien Earth is freaking amazing. Yeah.
I have not checked into Alien Earth yet, but I will. I need to.
When you have your like 5-week, cave sabbatical with TV and Wi-Fi, just put it on the list somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah. After Al Horner is Bradley Morgan, who I had these. I don't know why I didn't write it down. These next three. I know one of them is. Yeah. I know one of them is Frank Zappa. I think that's. Is that Trent Hamilton?
That's Bradley.
That's Bradley. Okay.
I can grab these ones.
He's the author. Okay.
Yeah. So no, Bradley and I talked about his book, Frank Zappa's America, which is disturbingly relevant in today's time, kind of talking about Frank's social commentaries, both left and right, but mainly talking about, the rise of Christo-nationalism, white conservative Christo-nationalism in America, and, the role that played in the 80s in his music. A great interview and like an incredible book, just, a very scholarly look at, Frank's music, and kind of a fun way to immerse yourself in some of that catalog, because I wasn't overly familiar with the 80s stuff. I was always more about the 60s and 70s Zappa material, but reading that and then putting on those tracks gave it a kind of a cool perspective to it, and just like, all right, I kind of have the cliff notes here from Bradley. Like I can dig what Frank's saying now. Great.
Yeah, and that was another kind of timely and ominous time to be talking, about the issues of free speech in America, and what role an artist plays in just kind of of defining the boundaries of free speech, and like figuring out, like what, and hearing, getting Frank's thoughts, and then also Bradley's interpretation of Frank's thoughts, and kind of the context of, more like, in addition to his actual words, like you guys played the famous, I believe it's the Crossfire episode, and to get Bradley's like breakdown of that too. I remember that's a really cool episode. These are all really cool episodes, but that's why that one's a cool episode to me.
No, I enjoyed that one. And actually, shameless plug for him here. He actually has a new book out about U2. And let me pull the title of that real quick while we talk about that.
Yeah, and I think I remember the next two then are oh man.
The next
Don't play the music on me. It's Tom Waits.
Tom Waits.
Yeah. Exactly. It's our two Tom Waits fans.
Yes.
We grab people who are like very into and very, more knowledgeable than us.
Inspired by it, exactly. Kind of on the krautrock, theme of like, help us understand this, a little bit more, because this is a total cult artist that, like, if you know it, you love it. But chances are you don't know it, you don't love it yet. But
And
I think you and I both like spun a lot of Tom Waits, out of that.
yeah, and those are two that I think those are two that you had set up. But it was really interesting because I remember, you know, I remember Trent had like a very personal story and like an explanation of like what Tom Waits like means to him and why Tom Waits is his thing. And then speaking with Hudson, it was like a different discussion about the way that like Tom Waits inspires his art and like his own music, and he like, we got to play a cover of his, I believe, too.
Yeah,
which is really cool. So those are two cool episodes that you guys should check out.
Yes. And then circling back, Bradley's new book is U2 Until the End of the World. And it's something I grabbed on release day, and it's super cool. And I don't think he listens, so I can say it, but like my dad's a big U2 fan, so I'm definitely going to be sending him a copy for the holidays. Like,
nice,
cool pictures, cool little articles about, times and place with them. And, I think I've said it multiple times on this show, like, because of all the Apple stuff and, whatnot, they get a little bit of a bad rap in today's, but God, for 20, 25 years, they're one of the best bands on the planet. I mean, there's not much argument there.
Yeah, they are U2 for a reason.
Yeah, you hate them because they took over the world and they weren't afraid to let you know.
Yeah, I really need to cut out some of the less brain enriching activities in my life and get back to reading, so I can do stuff like read Bradley's books and read the book that we're supposed to be reading right now, which is Dwayne. I forget his last name, but Dwayne's book.
Tudall, yeah.
Dwayne Tudall, yeah, his book about the Prince recording sessions from that stretch of the 80s that Purple Rain exists in. I have read a chunk of it, but I have not read enough of it, but it's fascinating.
I'm probably 80% of the way through, and I'm wondering, I was going to bring this up later, but as a birthday spin, I might pull rank and just say we're doing Sign of the Times by Prince, in a couple of weeks, just because he has a book about that too. Okay. And it would be, it's a personal favorite of mine, honestly, but also like, okay, if we have this guy who's just like an infinite vault of knowledge,
he's bona fide. Multiple people when we have brought up that book have mentioned to me, like, Questlove like references back to that book and says it's like he loves it and says that it's like authoritative on the time, and like reading through it and like reading through even just the intro and having him explain how he put this kind of info and narrative together is like, there's no doubting there's no doubting the serious work that's gone into it. So it's
hopefully not long after you hear this one, you'll be hearing our interview with him. We're planning to talk to him about 12 hours from now, actually, about his book, and we've got a fun conversation, and he's excited. We're excited. And, like, holy crap, we're hitting the ground running on our second season, so to speak, talking Purple Rain. Like, what more could you ask for?
And speaking of seasons, the way that we capped off our first and, decided this is probably a place where we should put an exclamation mark. Our last episode, if you haven't seen, we actually interviewed the band who had created the album that we had random rolled, which was the album Mirrored by Battles. And we actually got to talk to John Stanier and Ian Williams, who now make up the duo that is Battles. But of course, they were also in the band at the time when Mirrored was recorded.
They were a four-piece then.
They were a four-piece, and now they're two-piece. But yeah, who else? There's who else would be better to talk about? But it was awesome. We talked Mirrored with them, but we also talked a lot more stuff. And yeah, if you haven't if you haven't listened to the two like director's cut versions of their interviews where we released like the full talk with them, check those out. They're both amazing.
Yeah, the anecdotes that kind of fly off randomly about, Kid Rock and recording rap rock albums at the genesis of the idea, like those alone are worth the price of hitting play on those. So I would definitely recommend it. But that brings me to a kind of a sub question before we get into the main question of what's your favorite episode. Season 2. It's arbitrary. If you had to pick a goal of a person or two, not knowing the albums we're going to pull, of course, that we might interview, is there anybody that comes to mind?
I would,
and it could even be a pit stop or something like that, or we can call a shot. Let's say.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we put our we threw our blind dart throw at was we got in touch with Orville Peck's like agent type people and asked them, would he come on and talk to us about Graham Parsons? Because I don't know, I would imagine he probably has opinions on Graham Parsons. But the other thing that got me excited about that remote possibility was that if he did say yes and he got back to us anytime soon, we would likely be interviewing him from the set of the Street Fighter movie where he's playing Vega,
which we also are unashamedly fans of. And, we'll go to our grave over. Yeah.
So I don't know. By some miracle, I would love if we would just randomly get an email back saying, "Yeah, he'd love to," like right in between takes or something like that.
You never know.
Yeah,
that would be. We've gotten a few interviews. Yeah, we've gotten a few responses a few weeks later on some.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting. I mean, now that we've got it out of the way that we've actually hit one of the actual bands, I would think it would be interesting to do something similar to what we were hoping for with Orville Peck, where maybe you're not, we're not getting the band, or maybe it's not possible to get the band, but maybe we grab like another artist or somebody like somewhat in the universe or close who's on
right.
On
we draw a Metallica album, so let's interview somebody in the metal community that's respected but also influenced by Metallica.
Yeah, that would be cool. What was yours?
I keep coming back to Steven Wilson that we've referenced a number of times on here. Like that would be like, holy shit moment for me. And it admittedly not so much even for his music, but the fact that he's contributed to so many artists' catalogs remastering, and he's such like an aficionado, and he finds ways to kind of elevate these things. But yeah, I mean, like, obviously I've made no secret that I'm a fan of his tunes. But kind of to that same note, it's a general answer, but I'd love to get like an engineer or a studio hand or something like that on there, just to hear what the recording processes are like on some of these things, and, gear insights and just like what it took to make these albums. We can find pretty good information on the internet, but I think always hearing it firsthand. And even that email we got about the Shins Shoots Too Narrow album, that was cool. Like, we got little tidbits of kind of like insight about it that you couldn't find on the internet because you're talking to the guys that were there. So I think that'd be my goal. And then, I'll put the sticker in. It's going to be every season until it happens. I would love to get Yasi on here just to, just to argue about Hole or something along those lines.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's just me, but that feels like a fateful like crash course. It's out there somewhere, and I feel like if we can just keep making episodes, we can make it happen.
We'll will it into existence. Perseverance.
The podcast was the ember was lit by a cameo pep talk that you got for us for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also got a slight mention on a question bag episode of hers
on her Britpop.
That you had sent a question in on, and slipped in that, hey, we started our own next year. So there's two steps. There's got to be a third, right? Like, we'll figure it out.
we're getting there. I mean, who better? She's doing hair metal right now, it seems like, and I think she just dropped an Alanis Morissette episode. Like, I don't know what bag she's in, but I think it's one of those ones where we can find a way in.
Yeah, and on in addition to that being like a cool goal that we would both want to do, that's somebody where it wouldn't be hard to figure out an album to to throw to them, or even just say these are the albums we've done. Like,
let's talk the list.
What opinions do you have?
Here's the top 500. What do you think? Let's just pick it apart with her. Yeah. So I guess that does bring us to our main
actual question.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
So I think my favorite out of our episodes that we've done so far is the 2 Outcast episodes.
Okay.
They kind of fall right. I feel like right after a point where we had hit a real stride with mainline episodes, both kind of the content, the format, and the technicalities of putting an episode together. It all kind of got to the level that we wanted, and then at the same time we got a really meaty. Well, we got a really meaty album in Stinkonia, and then I forget exactly the specifics, but I think we were playing around with the random number generator, just being like, oh, what can we get next? And it gave us the Speaker Box Love Below split album, and we were like, well, this is just kind of fate. Like, we have to...
Yeah, we were trying to wiggle out of Stankonia, and see what else is going on, and that, we pulled another Outcast. It's like, okay, well, I guess we know what we're doing.
Yeah, and those 2 episodes, they kind of have, have it all. It's got a great story. They're 2 or 3, genuinely really, really good albums. There's a lot of good audio drop sources too, which is always fun when we have enough of those to put something together. So it's not just us saying things, or not, you don't have to take it from us. Like, we have prime, this is them saying it, and we've got audio of it. Right. Things like, I really enjoyed playing that Atlanta nightly news story on them. That was really cool. And then
I
also
enjoyed making the bongs over Baghdad commercial too.
I was gonna say that one has I believe actually between the 2 of them, they have 2 really excellent ad reads, which are a big fun part of the show. But for me personally, it kind of fulfilled exactly what I personally want to get out of episodes, which is where you do an episode focused on an album or a group that I'm kind of aware of already, but maybe not very knowledgeable about. And then through the course of doing the episode and talking about them, it kind of upgrades my level of knowledge to the point where I can annoy my wife or somebody else and be like, oh, did you know that they had separate tour buses when they made this? Or do you know the Outcast recording studio used to belong to Bobby Brown? Right. Did you know that Whirlpool makes a So Fresh, So Clean edition of a washer dryer set that plays the song when your clothes are done and stuff like that?
I mean, you and I both know that's the Indy 500 bump, getting them the marketing tie-in right there. But big boy, you can come on the show later and thank us. It's fine.
Yeah. So those are mine. What was yours?
Man, even now I'm still up in the air
Kind
a
of
little
looking
bit
at the
on it.
also rans. Yeah, I have a lot of also rans, but we also get to talk a lot about
Yeah.
other ones later, so I'm okay with it.
I think, the couple that stick out for me, and maybe by the end of, all this, I'll have a one to settle on. I think OK Computer was one of my favorite ones, just because it was 3.5 hours of an album you, myself, and Rick all loved dearly, at a certain point in time. But then, at least for me, and I'm assuming you too as well, that there was so much more new information brought to light, and just kind of the fun of bringing that together, and like the nostalgia of the three of us talking music.
Yeah.
It was special for me. And I really enjoyed it, even though it took 2 sessions to get the whole thing done. Just because it was, I want to say,
That's right. I forgot about that.
yeah, it was a three
That
and a
might
half
be the
hour
only time that happened, but yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
We had to call it at like 1 a.m. or something, so Rick didn't have to stay up till 5 a.m. on his time zone.
Yeah.
Um,
Bless him for doing so, though.
the Prodigy music for the Jilted Generation is definitely up there. That definitely caught me at the height of me finding a new love for electronic music, and just really, even though this music is 30 years old, God help me, um, totally opened my eyes to new sounds, new ideas that not only like listening have inspired me, but just even as a amateur musician, like, things I like to bring in, and, these new songs that are all of a sudden favorites and every day in my shuffle, my playlist, and I need some sound in the car. Oh, let's put on this Prodigy album. Let's put on, all these things here. And I think lastly, the one that always will jump out for me, even a couple hundred episodes from now, is Bowie's Let's Dance. I think it
Mhm.
really just set the tone for like what you and I want to bring to an episode each time, in terms of like, we're going to dedicate it to bringing information, bringing actual clips, bringing insight, and just uncovering like the narrative behind these things, and not just like dissecting, oh, this is good, this is bad. I didn't have the
Yeah.
context of like, oh, John Lennon was killed and Bowie went into basically hiding about it. Like, things like that are reasons why I would listen to a podcast. So, for us to be, bringing that information into, an episode, for me, I thought that made it pretty special. And then, I covered Stevie Ray Vaughan, you covered Nile Rodgers. Those are bit players, but, we're kind of building this whole universe of all these characters that we do see throughout music. We'll come back to Nile Rodgers when Daft Punk comes around. We'll come back to Bowie time and time and time again. We've even had to veto another Bowie album.
Yeah. We had to tell him to back off for a week.
Right. We might not come back to Stevie Ray Vaughan, but, I mean, at the end of the day, we could. We could touch on him a little bit more and expand that. There's just so many great stories to tell. It's, it really just highlights for me like how many stories within this story there really are. And, it's not just as simple as like, oh, well, this band was doing this at this time and then they put it out. No, this guy came from here. This guy came from here. These people came together because of this, and this is how it happened. And oh, he went off and became a star. He went off and became a star, and Bowie's still Bowie, and it will always be. So it's just, I kind of had everything that I would want in an episode.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and even a fun intro theme by somebody I know.
Yep, true. Yeah, that's also a highlight for me. That is, like, I think I think every album for sure probably has a story like that to it. Now, whether it's readily available to us, especially in the, hopefully as we get back into it, if you can suss it out or investigate it and put it together in a week or so, is not always possible, but most of the time you do find, and like, like you were saying, like that's the podcast I would want to hear too. Is I feel like there's not a lot of sources for like that sort of thing for albums. It seems like there's a lot for for movies. Like people love hearing about behind the scenes type stuff on movies, and trying to figure out like what's going on in an actor's life when they made this, or what's a direct, what's the story of this director at this time and stuff like that. But like I feel like I almost never hear about that for albums. There was a VH1 show, Christ, and I can't even remember what the title of it was. It might just be called Classic Albums, but they would they would go track by track on a classic album and kind of tell the stories of that song and that album and the recording and things like that, or something like the insane Peter Jackson like 20-hour Beatles documentary, the Get Back thing. Like I love that kind of stuff, but I feel like it's not always there. Like, and there's so many albums where I would love to figure out like what was going on, like what made this, or what was going on in their lives when they made this. What's the story or the narrative of what's behind the scenes on this. So
right,
and that is one where we really got to dig into. Yes. I mean, and luckily that was one where the story's interesting, and the story was told in a few different places, by a few different people, and especially by, Niall and sometimes David Bowie, in recorded interviews and stuff like that. So that one was a good story, and it was a little bit easier to put together, which isn't always the case, but we're trying.
Well, and I would say too, like, we started off, and I think for the most part, it averages out as much, that we wanted to do an episode a week. But I think that was really the first proofs in the pudding that like 2 weeks on a big episode is not a bad thing. Because by week 2 we had a lot of notes done, but then we can sit there and watch 3-hour like YouTube videos from Nile Rodgers. We can watch interviews, we can add on all this extra stuff, and like, you can piece together a lot of stuff on the surface from Wikipedia and all the other like easy sites. But to really find something unique that you haven't heard, it does take a little bit of time, and that's okay, So, can we fill it in between with, a pit stop? Can we rap about something else? Can we talk to, an expert on a different subject? Yeah, there's people out there that always want to talk music. So it makes, those episodes that much better. Here we are with Purple Rain, basically taking a month to get there. And, that might be the pattern going forward, is like, let's get a head start on all these things and do our research, plan some guests, and just, really load it up and make it good.
Yeah. It's an ongoing process. It's an evolving creature.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we don't have an album to talk about, but should we hit the theme and just go on to what's next?
Yeah. Hit that intro music.
All right.
Dang.
That was the Spin Doctors
Yes.
with their hit song One Princess.
Ugh.
Now, I
I've
will
got-
say, if we're doing the How the Sausage is Made episode here, like part of the fun too has just been like, okay, what musical influence are we running on this week? Okay,
Yeah.
what kind of theme song can we make?
Yeah.
Wow, look at the tools we have in 2025 to get close to this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
I think I've talked the same thing before on episodes, but one of the other kind of shocking side effects of starting to do this is kind of there was an unexpected uptick in the amount of like music production and music recording type stuff that like both of us wanted to to do. I would have figured you start up an audio art type content whatever project like a podcast. It's going to take time away from something like that. I wouldn't even say take time away, but I wasn't even doing it in the first place. So I would expect, I'm going to double not do it now, but it's been the opposite. Like there's been opportunities and inspirations to be like, make an intro song, make an outro song, make something for this or that. Like,
man, I got 40 minutes before the family gets home. I can do vocals in this time. Like, exactly. Squeeze it in.
And like you said, like the technology's come a long way since when we first were doing stuff like this. So I can plop myself down in the living room with a laptop and like program some drums and record some guitar like pretty easily. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a good thing we didn't have these when we were 17 and had school obligations and such.
Yeah.
Probably would have just effed off, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Which I'm sure a lot of people are doing it now. So
I mean, I can't blame them. It's fun.
they should.
So the last time that we broke up all the albums we had covered into tiers, we did it, I think, on episode 12 in a segment called Tears in Heaven. Apologies, Mr. Clapton, but it was too easy. But now that we have somewhere around 24, 25 albums clocked, doing that again would be it'd be quite an undertaking, and this might be another 3-hour episode if we did that. So what we're going to do this time around is a top 5. 2 birds, 1 stone, shorten the amount of albums we have to talk about, and kind of get in a bit of a hall pass on telling you which ones we don't like.
Yeah.
What are your top 5 that we've done? Top 5 albums, not necessarily episodes, but top 5 albums.
Yeah. This is I mean, it's a personal list, so I think to me the episode sometimes plays into it, but it's a real jumble. But I was going to ask you, what do you think would be the most interesting way to kind of read these off? Like, do you want to? So here's the thing. Like, I thought at first maybe trading off.
Voice.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe trading off going from bottom to top might be interesting, but then like what's going to happen if we have one that hits both of our lists? Like
we might.
Yeah.
I think we just go for it.
Okay, how about we'll just read them off and then discuss where we must. So
yes.
I'll read.
Yeah.
I'll read mine from the bottom to the number 1.
You tell me 5, and then I'll tell you 5, and then back and forth. We'll go back and forth.
Okay, but we'll try and we'll try as hard as we can to hold discussion until we've read them all off. Right?
Sure.
Okay. Number 5 on my list was Stankonia.
5 on mine was A Love Supreme.
Okay. Number 4 on mine. Let me make sure I've got these right. Yeah. Number 4 on mine was Grievous Angel by Graham Parsons.
Okay.
Or Graham Parsons and Emmylou Harris, depending on whose widow you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on which grave robber you ask about it.
There you go. Okay.
Let's see.
Number 4.
4 for me would be the Prodigy episode for music for the Jilted Generation.
Okay. Number 3, Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes.
That's a very good one. Very good one. I'm going to go with Battles Mirrored.
Interesting. So number 2 on my power rankings here, A Love Supreme by Mr. Coltrane.
I like it.
Okay.
I won't object. Number 2 for me was Noi 75.
Got it. I was wondering when that one would show up.
Yep.
And number 1 on the top 5 albums to me that we've done so far. And I guess now might be a good time to explain my criteria. I actually didn't really have a set of criteria that I can, really run down, but these are truly just kind of how I feel about these albums, how much I like them, like how good they make me feel. In addition to like how great they are as an achievement or something like that, how important they are in history, and then, just vibes thrown in there too. But my number 1 album that we've covered so far, I marked out as OK Computer. Mm-hmm.
Well, you ever hate it when you watch a TV show and you're watching the finale and you think you know how it's going to end, and it ends exactly how you think it's going to end, and then the other guy picks OK Computer as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's okay. So we can start. So I'm guessing. So we can start there then, right? This is the consensus number 1 power ranked album that we've covered.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I said a few minutes ago, I think it captures the spirit of why the show was made, and it's friends talking music, and just a casual conversation, but bringing cool insights into it, whether personal or just recording stuff, like all the things about the spots in the castle that they recorded the album in. Like, for as many times as I listened to that, I had no idea. Just the influences going into it, with the retrospective, like, oh yeah, they were listening to Can, they were listening to this band and that band. Like, oh, I know what those are now. Thanks for the show.
There's been some time. There's been some time to gain experience and like see.
Right. So it's like I'm eating the same burger I was eating 20 years ago, but all of a sudden I'm tasting all these different flavors on it, and it's just amazing and still blowing my mind. But at the end of the day, like talking music with friends, like what could be worse than that, on a Monday night? I mean, it's amazing. And I think even more on a personal level, like this is coming off of having like kidney stone surgery and feeling like shit. And it's just like, you know what? I'm going to check out of that a little bit, and I'm going to drop into a world where I can talk music with my buddies and, just kind of smile for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wrote down, the album is an old friend, right? Like that came out in 97, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like I'm 13. We're all around that. that is like the impressionable age. Yeah. And then, as you mentioned, the album's an old friend. We got to talk about it with an old friend. It has the pedigree of being the highest ranked album we've reviewed so far.
What was it, 11?
It's not just, I don't even know, but I know.
Yeah.
So it's not just, it's not just us, but, also just as a listening experience, throwing it on for the first time in 30 years, like, and listening to it very intentionally, it doesn't disappoint. It's not, it's not one of these things that you put on and you're like, that's a little bit of rose colored glasses from being 13 years old and having it be a big thing. But
this is not to shoot bullets the way of like Stone Temple Pilots, but yeah, it's like listening to Stone Temple Pilots' Purple now. Like, yeah, that's great music. I loved it a lot more when I was 12 and 13,
Yeah.
but it's still good. But
I,
it hasn't aged with me, as gracefully.
yeah, yeah. Um, I won't go down too far down the road, but I think I'm the opposite direction on Stone Temple Pilots. I think back then I was of the opinion of Mr. Matt Pinfield, who had famously said, he was talking to somebody and they were like, sounds like Stone Temple Pilots, and he was like, yeah, who doesn't sound like Stone Temple Pilots? And I was like, yeah, they're just another one. But like now I listen to some Stone Temple Pilots and I'm like,
so their second album. Their second album, Purple, was the first CD I ever got. And It was like one of 4 CDs I had for about 6 months on my stereo I got for Christmas. So like, not only did I know every song, I knew every word. And I taped all the other songs off the radio just because like, that's my band right there. I think I had.
Okay, I can see where you're starting from there, because it didn't start there for me. So
right,
that's interesting that there's an intersecting path there.
When my real love of music started, like bands that I love today, like Zeppelin, Pearl Jam, that I consider all timers, like weren't even at that level. It was just kind of one of those like, I have this, I like this, I'm going to play this over and over. That's my Creedence Greatest Hits and my Tom Petty Wildflower CD. That's all I need, guys.
That's something. Yeah, that's something that people are really missing out on these days. Is now that we have these services, especially for music, where you can pull 99% of anything you imagine that exists, and you can just have it playing like as soon as you want. But yeah, like back then, like you're talking about the limited number of CDs you had, like I didn't even have like a personal collection for a long time. I had like CDs that I had the CDs that my parents had decided, these are the albums that we're going to have on CD for this like new weird format, and like the one CD boombox we have in the house. And the 2 I remember being the only 2 for a long time were the Pulp Fiction soundtrack.
Nope.
And I believe it was Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell 2. It might have been 1, but yeah, like those were the 2 CDs that I remember. Like that was it for a long time.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's kind of funny to think like, we were defined by what we could physically hold in our hand, in terms of music, or it was on the radio.
What movie was on HBO that night, if you even had HBO, or what movie did we rent that weekend, like that we wanted to see, and then like the next day comes up and you're like, well, shit, we don't have anything else. We're just going to watch that again.
Well, this segment of Old Man Corner brought to you by Ben Gay, for when those achy joints aren't cured by just a joint and you need a little something extra.
But I mean, that's what 1997 and OK Computer was. That was one of the pre 1999 moments of kind of cultural crossover, where a band had made an album that was actually so great and so kind of undeniably the thing that, like, that became, we're talking about only having a limited, even in, personally having a limited number of options to have and to listen to. Well, even as a culture, like you had limited options in, you couldn't have it all. 1997 was the year of Radiohead's OK Computer, and everybody being like, holy shit, what is this?
Yeah. I'd have to go back and really dig and figure out too, like, when did the whole MP3 thing start? Because proud to say, like, I think, you and our group of friends
after that.
we were definitely in on that pretty early, but I don't know if it was right then, more of like 98, 99, but
it was it was definitely a bit after this. And that wasn't one of the ones that we had, deftly pirated. So it was still CD era. It was still a kind of collective moment.
Still waiting for the music video. Yep.
Yeah, things like that. So what other albums did we both cry? I know we both had A Love Supreme, is that right?
Yeah.
I think you
And I
had it
think
number 4?
I did.
Okay, and I had it number 2.
I thought, I gave it such love because it was such an amazing story to it all. But it was also kind of cool for me to see that, like, and this is, I think, true of like Noe 75, we could come into these albums with very little like background knowledge and still not only get a good grasp of them, but, kind of weave a good story from them as well.
Mhm.
And that was a lot of fun for me, and just everything it went for. Like, hey, you and I are looking for the lossless codec version of A Love Supreme. Hey, we're interviewing a guy that is a member of the church of John Coltrane. Like, if you told me a year ago, like, I'd say, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is all what?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I mean, just knowing from where this idea started to kind of like the way it branches out and the way it influences us it's just kind of fun to me. And I think it was fun for me to flex what jazz knowledge I had, and it was cool for me to see you get into jazz a little bit, and just like dip your toe into it, into an area that you aren't super well versed in, but you're learning.
Yeah, I would say that is a very, very large reason of why it shows up so high on my list. It's a combination of both the initial impact of what a great album it is, how great it sounds, what like a really obvious like a really obvious genius to it, but then also once we researched it a little bit, hearing about that him and that specific band had basically they'd been playing shows basically nonstop for like years and years together. Right. And the only breaks the only quote unquote breaks they would ever take were for recording. So like you can hear
was literally 5 hours of, or was it 5 hours of recording?
Yeah, it was something like, it was definitely less than a day. I think we'd even joked that it might have been like less than like the time it takes us to like do the episode about it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think there was a whole side story of like, yeah, they had guys come in the next day to do overdubs, but they didn't end up using any of them because it was like, you just weren't there. It wasn't as good.
Yeah. But it's the combination of that and the feeling that if I wanted to, like, this could be a jumping off point for, this could replace like all of my listening, is branching off from this and finding out what's next and what else in jazz. So it's kind of like, I wrote down that it's kind of like chess. Like, it's easy to pick up, and get the basics, but there's clearly something here that I could spend, it could become your thing, right? Like, I said you could spend the rest of your life with it, and for some people, your afterlife, apparently. Yeah,
no shit. Yeah.
And maybe I do, and maybe I don't ever really get the chance to do that. But the fact that it's it's a fact that it would be possible, to do that, even if it never happens, it adds a lot to what I think about and how I feel about the album, and like what it is to listen to it, So, yeah. But I'm sure there's definitely a jazz period in my future, and I'm sure it'll start with this again whenever it starts up.
Yeah, the one thing, that I was thinking just now when you're saying it, it's kind of like there might be more landmark albums, critically. Not a lot, but there might be some. But are any of them going to have as interesting a narrative and like, just these little thoughts to it? Like, he's playing the words of this speech that he gave. Like, Miles Davis has some great stories to him, but is it going to have that like depth of like brilliance and genius to it that like, oh wow, I can hear that now that I read that story.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me what made that album special was just like hearing all the little thought process behind it. Oh, he isolated himself up in his attic and waited, for God to speak to him to deliver this album. And this is what came out. And then like from that 5 hours later, in the recording studio, this is what went to press. And like it's whether it's excuse me, this yawn brought to you by Red Bull at 11:30 at night. But whether that's like tall tale or whether that's honest to goodness truth, like it's just such an interesting and fun narrative to think if like this man was so inspired by his faith and the world around him that he was able to deliver this just by listening.
Yeah, and I think there's other works of art that are probably that people try and have that same kind of they just try and let it be divine inspiration, or they kind of want to let something one of the things he talked a lot about was trying to let something else flow through him and be delivered. And it's like, I know there's probably a lot of people who attempt that, but then again, talking about the amount of time that this band has spent together kind of lends itself to me believing that all these guys together, if there is such a thing as, God speaking through a musician or a band and letting it happen, like, I would believe that these guys who know each other so well and can basically, I believe that they could turn themselves off and just let it flow and have it be something, intelligible, or, it comes out as music. So, regardless whether or not that's real, that's a band that I believe could, if it can happen, that's the band that I believe would let it happen. And then you listen to what they ended up with, and like, I can't tell you. I would not be able to tell you, that shit's not real. Like,
yeah,
they came up with what they came up with. The proof is in the pudding. Like, it's that, like, that's what happened. Like, that's what John Coltrane came down from his attic and delivered. So,
right. For every,
whomst among us.
Right. For every Coltrane, there's a million stories of, oh, Axl Rose took 7 years to write Chinese Democracy, and it was, it stunk. Like, and John Coltrane gets, divine inspiration and, shares it with his musicians, and boom, this is, an all-time work right there.
Yeah.
So it's a hell of a thing. Any others, that?
Well,
really...
let's do this. Just so we don't end up talking about like every single one.
Yeah.
How about we'll each pull, you tell me one from my list, and I'll tell you one from your list that we don't have, that we do want to hear the what's up on.
Remind me again of your list.
Okay, so from the other order here. So it was number 1, OK Computer. Number 2, Love Supreme. Number 3, Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes. Number 4, Grievous Angel. And number 5 is Stinkonia. And I have little blurbs written for all of these. So no matter which one you pick, I've got something to say about it. But yeah, you'll have to remind me of yours too, after or before, whoever goes first here.
Give me some of that Hot Buttered Soul.
Okay. So Hot Buttered Soul, I've got it number 3. That one, I think the defining quality to that album is that it's almost a purely sensational experience, like the actual sense of the sounds that are like massaging your brain and your ears that come off of that one, they just feel so good to like soak in and experience. It's like hot butter.
For your soul.
It almost kind of defies description, and all I can say is, like, give it a spin and you'll hear it.
As the kids might say, it's a vibe.
Yeah. I mean, Isaac Hayes' voice alone is like makes the whole thing worthy, but then also like the music and ideas that he was coming up with at the same time, and the sense of, again, like if you go and listen to that album, you get the story of, there's a really unique story of where that album came from, and kind of the sense of him saying, well, F it, I'm doing this is all my way, and this is all my ideas and what I want to do right now. And, somebody telling him, yeah, this is a great time for it, and I want you to do that. and he does. And what he ends up with is like a mesmerizing, fantastic album.
I don't want to say it's an accidental success, but it's kind of one of those, like, it really was circumstance simply of they needed albums. And
he was shooting his shot. And it also, like you're saying, the situation that it comes up in is one where, it's not inconsequential, but it's also, he's playing with house money. He knows, again, go listen to the episode, but basically his is one of, like, what was it, like 30, or I don't know if it was that much, but it was a ton of albums that the label was trying to put out, like almost all at the same time. And, he kind of slid in, or somebody, I think it was him who had slid in and been like, do you mind if I throw one more on the pile? Like, I'm here. He was like, I've got an idea.
If I recall, he was like the studio guy on a lot of the albums, but he was never like, he was never thought of as like the solo artist. And then it was kind of like, oh, hey, Isaac, why don't you do something too?
Yeah, they were doing like a Motown thing where there's a house band, and they were kicking out like everybody's albums all at the same time. And he just kind of turned around and said, well, do you mind if I throw one more at you? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, do you mind if I do whatever I want to do? And they're like, yeah, sure. And
your first one panned, but hey, maybe this one will stick. Yeah. Worst case scenario, we have some more in the catalog. No biggie.
Yeah. Give me so one more time. Give me your list again.
Yeah. So Battles, Prodigy, OK Computer, Noise 75, and Coltrane.
I guess tell me. I know we've talked about it a bit, so maybe if you have anything left over, tell me kind of, I guess more specifically, the album itself, Music for the Jilted Generation. Like, what's that doing for you?
It really, man, yeah, it's almost like a demarcation point of like modern electronic music to me. I think there's something to be said for the order of when I hear things. Hearing kind of like that whole krautrock scene and the early stages of electronic, and then we get into like 80s synth stuff, and all of a sudden this Prodigy album is almost like a fusion of like punk metal with the raver electronic ethos and backing. It was an album for me, between reading about it, really listening to it, and then our conversations with Martin, just being able to like put myself in that time of place to make it feel like it was fresh for me. Even though it was 30 years ago, like the idea of having to go out in a caravan in England to listen to these things in a club, and all of a sudden laws
If
were
it was even a
enacted.
club.
Right. It might have been a barn where some guy was set up in South Lancashire, and, who knows what's going on there. But I think, just being able to visualize the context of that being this emerging thing and this new sound, and not even like what came after, but just knowing that like what came before, there wasn't a lot like this going on. Even the album before this was definitely more like on the 80s side of electronic sounding. But this is very much modern. And it didn't sound like Ministry. It didn't sound like Nine Inch Nails, which are two artists of similar styles, which I kind of attribute, to that era. But it was just its own unique thing. And then I think, just the stories of all the guys in there and how they came to be a band, and, just kind of one of those, again, it was so punk feeling, like, oh, you really don't play an instrument. Why don't you be our hype guy? Oh, maybe we'll bring in a guitarist here. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool too. Here's just one guy masterminding the whole thing, but let's put a production together for it all. Like, it's just such a cool idea and a cool story. And really one of the few where, like, don't get me wrong, I'd take a time machine to see Coltrane. I'd take a time machine even to see Patti Smith say the N-word and see the people's faces in the crowd. But like, this is one genuinely like, I wish I was there. Like, I wish I could. I wish I could be there, because this, in a lot of ways, this is still a scene that's going and growing. Whether it's these giant electronic shows at the Sphere in Vegas, whether it's festivals that tour around Europe. These guys were kind of some of the early forerunners of just the whole electronic music movement. And I think as well, in our teenage years, there was so much talk of like, oh my gosh, is electronic the new thing? Is this the way forward in 2000? Like, not only Prodigy, Fatboy Slim, Chemical Brothers, Armin van Buuren, all these guys were just like, oh, maybe rock is dead. Maybe this is the new format. It's huge. It's still huge. It's one of the greatest selling genres. I think the amount of records Prodigy themselves has sold is just staggering. And even seeing their performances early in the year, like, shit, they still bring it, man. We got to get to it.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. The Professor Martin James, Professor Rave, the story he told of how he first became enamored with the Prodigy was that, at his age, they were into punk, but punk was already on its way out.
Right.
So, he was in it, but he's kind of watching it become something else and become subsumed and not become the thing that they, that he had wanted to see or that he had wanted to sign up for. And then this other thing happens, and specifically with the Prodigy and with the underground rave scene, and it's like, oh, this is what I was looking for. It's not the same music, but everything else about it, the attitude,
spirit, exactly.
the spirit is there. And yeah, that makes so much sense. Like, I get that.
I think that's one of the things too that I found like so cool and interesting about it was like, we think of America, we probably wouldn't associate like the punk rock kids going to a Rancid or MXPX show with the kind going to a rave. But basically what, he talked to us about was like that punk and rave kids kind of became the same group. It was those kids looking for that anti-establishment feel and, like the party atmosphere and just, that sense of community through music. And yeah, just visualizing that here, it doesn't register. But, over there, it kind of was a melting pot of like multiple scenes. And, that's just kind of cool to me. Like these totally different, styles and backgrounds, or at least how I perceive them to be, could be total bedfellows, like having fun at the same show. There's a kid with a mohawk and there's a kid with a glow stick necklace. Like, why not?
Yeah. I got that. I get it. Yeah. I've got a lot to say about The Prodigy, but a lot of it was said. So go check out that episode.
And still listening to them. There's so many good songs there to be had.
Yeah, and supposedly there's something new on the way. It sounded like, so we'll have to keep our ear to the ground.
Yeah.
So something I wrote down. I don't know if you had pulled one, but did you have a favorite single song from amongst all the albums we've done so far?
I did, and depending on the day, it might change.
Yeah,
but
I pretty much wrote down almost one from one track from every album we did. Like I have pulled out one that I think is the one, but then I could tell you any album that we've done, I can tell you what was my song.
Right. Exactly. I think, for singular standout, I probably didn't know this track before. I went with Their Law by Prodigy.
Nice.
Still working on covering that one and just learning how to play all the parts of it and, craft them all by all the instruments. And then
and that's just that one's really premiere for something that I think the Prodigy did first and may still do best is the merging of guitar and electronic, especially electronic music that has its roots in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think the history of the last 30 years of music can tell you that merging guitars and hip hop is not an automatic or easy thing to do. But I think the Prodigy are one of the only things that do it 100% successfully.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole,
and it's an alluring and addicting thing that they do with that. When it when it works, you're not finding, I'm saying, you're not finding that in very many other places. So.
No, and me as an amateur musician, I can look for some beats and I can put them on the little launchpad device thing and trigger them and then sit there and play riffs on it. And it's kind of yeah, this is because I heard the Prodigy do this song.
Yeah.
Now I'm inspired to, this can be done. I may not be the one to do it as good as them or even close, but it can be done. I can find that middle ground between rock guitar and hip hop and not quite industrial, it's not industrial.
Somebody broke the glass ceiling for us and now we can, now we can follow.
It's its own little niche sound and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite or the most, the most standout song from all the albums we did, I think it was So Fresh and So Clean from Stankonia.
Yeah.
I feel of all the albums we've done, that is kind of the clearest distillation of the group we're covering into just one song, while also maybe being their best song.
Right.
Everything about Outkast is in there. It has the sort of evolved P-Funk production, the lyricism and the ideas from both of the guys are top notch in that one. The melody is dangerously catchy. I won't, but I could, sing that chorus for you at any time. You could stop me on the street and be put a gun in my face and say sing the main part from So Fresh and So Clean. I'd be no problem.
Put the gun on. I'll do it for free.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, it's just all so perfectly Outkast in that track.
Yeah.
Some of my runners up, perhaps most amazingly, the very next track on that album, Miss Jackson.
I mean, shit, that's an all-timer there. Yeah.
From Chutes Too Narrow, I really like Saint Simon, and I wrote down if the rest of the album was like that, it probably would have made my power rankings. I really love that track. I don't really love that album, but I do really love that track.
Yeah. Totally fair.
From Led Zeppelin 3, Since I've Been Loving You, Vauxhall and I, The More You Ignore Me, The Closer I Get. I wrote down Voodoo People from Music from the Jilted Generation, but that's, that one comes from Hackers and is kind of the one that, pulled my attention towards the Prodigy, so that makes sense.
A little bit of a nostalgia pull there, yeah.
Yeah. From The Love Below, She Lives in My Lap. I love that song.
That's a good one.
Let's Dance from David Bowie's Let's Dance. One Nation Under a Groove from One Nation Under a Groove. Grapefruit Moon from Tom Waits' Closing Time. That's still an astounding track to me. Like, if I think about usually if I'm I'm still swimming around in the kind of Graham Parsons, country type stuff, but like, when I hit like kind of a slow, like ballady type song, I'm like, I should really throw on Grapefruit Moon by Tom Waits because that's such a good track.
I'm looking forward to the next album we pull of his, just because it's going to force me back into that world. It's really good, but I don't know if it's still ingrained enough in me yet to like put on in a dull moment.
Yeah. The first track from Grievous Angel, Return of the Grievous Angel. I talk a lot about, I think I'm sure I talk on that episode about how like the first 15 seconds of that first track is like, it contains everything I want from like country stuff. I really like Little Acorns from White Stripes Elephant. And I wrote down Atlas from Mirrored. Like, I hate to be such a normie and pull the hit single and, kind of hit song from their band, but that is a really goddamn good song.
It really is. It is.
It really is.
You can hate on yourself all you want, but it's a damn good song. I mean, for a reason, it's popular.
Yeah.
I do have one honorable mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For track. Oh, Dupe. I can't say Dupe is growing on me, but like, it's like it's like a black mold stain on the wall that is not going to go away.
It's festering,
but the shape of it has become familiar to you, and it's killing you. But if somebody were to come and power wash it off, you'd come back the next day and say, my life is much better for not having Dupe or black mold in my house, but it's gonna be odd not having it.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like a scab, like 3 days after scraping your knee. You kind of get used to itching it, and it almost feels good, but at the same time, it is still just really gross. And as soon as you peel it up all the way, it's just gonna be gross again. So I don't know. It's better if you don't touch it after all.
Good old Dupe. Man, do you remember what episode the Dupe is actually the song in?
It was on Bowie's Let's Dance. Or no, what was it? Hold on, let me pull it up.
Because it was the number one. It was in UK at the time.
It might have been the Morrissey one.
Yeah, that sounds correct. Because I remember there's a talk about how Dupe is like the lost, momentary song, like right before Britpop comes off.
like no wonder Morrissey's album did so well if this is the shit it's competing against. Yeah.
Like there's this quiet time right before it all happens for Britain, and in that moment, like somebody makes.
And that's not to bag on that album. It is a good album, but yeah, I mean, like, you and I could probably put out a better album than Dupe.
Water to a Man in the Dupe Desert, right? Like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, yeah, it's an interesting take, and kind of curious to see where the next 25 take us. See how they shake up from then.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone see the movie Tron?
No. No.
Yes. I mean, no.
Well, folks, may the world join in on that drop, because everybody else also said no.
I mean,
nobody went to go see Tron Ares.
Are you gonna watch it when it comes to streaming?
Uh, Probably not. I think the main reason I would probably want to see that would be, and same story for Tron Legacy. The main reason I did go to see that in the theaters is because I wanted to sit in a theater with a big old sound system and listen to the soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I was going to go see Tron Ares, which I didn't, or I haven't, and I likely will not, would be the same reason. Is to go sit. Yeah, I'd want to go sit in a theater and listen to the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack on a big old sound system. But it's a different time now. It's a little. I got a hold of that soundtrack, and I've got very, very decent headphones that I can listen to it on. And do I really need to pay $12 to see Jared Leto do his thing again? Like, to see Jared Leto do his thing when it's not in House of Gucci, which I will defend as a very good and very funny Jared Leto performance, but everything else he's doing on and off screen, I will not co-sign.
I didn't mind him in Blade Runner 2049 just because he was playing a creepy dude anyway, so it was kind of not too much of a departure. But
yeah, see, I think that's the same thing as. It's the same. It's not the same thing, but it's the same move as House of Gucci. Like you need him playing something off, and also not. You need him playing something off, and you need him not playing main. Right?
Yeah.
Do not let him be the Joker. Do not let him be Ares or whoever it is. Do not let him be Morbius, but let him be a guy. Right.
In his defense, I don't think anybody would have saved that movie.
Which one, Morbius or?
Yeah, that one was that was rough. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to your point, the soundtrack by far is the best part of it. I mean,
and we have that.
It's a very good soundtrack. Like
it really is.
I'm sure I'll probably smoke or drink an adult beverage and watch the movie and tell you like, oh, dude, you got to see it. It's so ridiculous. And then 3 years from now, I'll say the same thing. Oh, dude, have you seen Tron Ares yet?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you won't.
I mean, I did kind of throw down that I want to catch up on all the movies I have not seen lately, because they're starting to pile up. So who knows? Like last time I did that. Last time I tried to clear out like a backlog of movies, I did end up here and there like hitting stuff like, I think there was like a Fast and Furious, and I've never watched any of those, but I was like, oh, this was the thing, and I see it's available on streaming here. I'll kick this one out too. Like, so it could happen.
I mean, not to go too far off topic, but I think that was the first one I saw was like either the most recent or the Hobbs and Shaw spin-off one. And
Hobbs and Shaw was the one that I did that with. Now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll go back and watch all these now.
Yeah, it wasn't even a real Fast and Furious movie. It was Hobbs and Shaw.
Right. Oh, they're racing cars. Oh, they're in space now. Okay, whatever. They're attacking an aircraft carrier in the Antarctic. Oh, whatever. Cool.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Professor Frank, no, nobody saw that movie Tron.
No. That's amazing.
But sub question, we know nobody saw that, but did anybody travel to see Ziggy Stardust Spider from Mars tour live in the 70s?
Apparently one person did. Now I just saw the headline on you had referenced it to me, and I didn't initially understand that it was referencing something. Mm-hmm. But apparently Janelle Monáe says that she traveled through time and attended a Ziggy Stardust show.
Yeah. She was doing an interview with Rolling Stone, and that she claimed that her love of like her concert costumes was inspired by her scene of the Ziggy Stardust concert tour in the 1970s. I think Twitch, the writer hosting the interview, said, "Oh yeah, those are great. That's a great movie." And she said, "No, I actually traveled back to that time to watch it."
Did she? Was this a?
And she said, that
Was
the
this
writer asked
mental
her,
time travel, or did she have a machine, or
well, let me scan the article real quick.
okay? Because yeah, was it like there's
Well,
the one
in-
X-Men First Class movie where like Wolverine does time travel, but he does
Right.
it like in his they send his like mind back
his
to his like
consciousness to it.
previous body or something like that, right?
Right.
Like did she do
Right.
something like did she Omicron Dark Soul this and like possess somebody?
Well, so kind of the running story on it is that in 2014, she told The Guardian that she's part android and that there's a time traveling machine in Atlanta that she has been through.
Well, if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be of course.
With those lemon pepper wings, man. Yeah, I'm there. 2022, she told Rock Seller that she is a time traveler, but is actively choosing to not time travel, to not go to the future, but to stay right where I am and not allow these moments to pass me by. So living in the now.
Oh yeah, because who could pass up 2018 through 2025? Like if you're gonna experience America,
Yeah. And then lastly, in a May video for Allure, showing her getting ready for the Met Gala, Janelle Monáe said she would be showing up as her time-traveling self to the event by honoring the past, present, and future through style.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It just goes to show mental illness does not discriminate amongst gender, race, artistry, or social class. Truly.
I don't know. I mean, she seems to have it together otherwise. Are we really gonna we need to we gotta believe first and or what was it Reagan said, trust but verify. So
yes.
personally I will trust what she's saying, but maybe we go on a Indy 500 field trip to Atlanta once we get that Blue Chew sponsorship, and we'll put the money towards trying to track down Janelle Monáe's time machine.
Oh, dude, tell me I'm there.
Okay.
I'm there.
We'll go see like Pink Floyd or something.
We got to pick one.
I mean, you got your pick there. Really,
there's our. I think within the spirit of the next episode, we're going to see something on the Prince's Purple Rain tour.
Yeah.
And then we'll just close on this quote from the illustrious Jenna Bush Hager from the Today Show. I love Janelle Monáe, but she sounds crazy as hell.
Same.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
I tell you, we're banging out a couple segments this episode, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't have an episode, or we don't have an album to talk about, but there is an ongoing issue that we do need to pop back into and chip away at a little bit here, amongst many. But the one I'm talking about here is the segment that we've been doing where we take NFL divisions and teams within those divisions and assign them artists or bands that we think kind of match their vibe, right?
Love it.
So this week
started as a season preview, but now I think we're more of a
now we're actually now we have some actual info. I still tried to keep mine a little general because things are always changing, but so this week the divisions that we've been handed, and I think we're on the back half now of divisions. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
But you have the AFC East, which is comprised of the
Buffalo
Bills, New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets.
The New York Football Jets.
Yes, sir. And I have grabbed the AFC North, which is the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, we've got a couple of moribund outfits
These are some
it's in
heavy
our
hitters
list
in
here.
this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of high ceiling, low floor.
But high potential for hilarity. I'll give it that.
Yeah. Do you want to trade off here? Do you want to start with one and we'll go back and forth?
Let's see here. Let's do one quick thing. Let's get into a huddle and
Break!
Blue 42, 6-7. All right, out of the huddle here, I'm going to drop the first team. And like I said, we are doing the AFC East. So the first one for me is the Buffalo Bills. And I compared them to Bruce Springsteen because I think Buffalo's got that great connection with the blue collars of the world.
Yeah.
Maybe never the big winner, but people can always relate to the bad luck and the bad days. But they come back still committed to it, and they're always grinding it out for the city. They might not win it all, but they really mean every note, every tackle, every run. And then Josh Allen, he always had that working man hero vibe. Went to the U of Wyoming, playing quarterback for Buffalo. But then, then he married Haley Steinfeld. So now he's kind of a, prince among paupers there. So I don't know if the working man thing applies anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I landed with them.
That's so funny because I was just listening to today a podcast about True Grit. And I was like, that's right. That was Haley Steinfeld.
Right? Oh my God, really? As the kid?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
Oh, well, revelatory information here on live on air. Yeah, that was her.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, hot girl herself, yeah.
And
did you ever see Sinners?
I have not yet, but I was going to say I have seen Hawkeye, the TV show, which is kind of like whatever, but she's pretty good in that too.
I like.
But yeah, I have not seen Sinners yet. All the movies to be watched this winter. I'll put that.
You'll like it. Yeah, you'll like it.
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff there's a lot of stuff right now that I'm like, wow, everybody really liked that. The Substance, Weapons, Sinners. Like, okay, everybody really liked these. Obviously, if I put them on, I'm not going to be like, maybe one of the three I'm going to be like, but yeah, there's high chances I'm going to like all these. So I just need to watch some movies.
But exactly. You have to not be talking about, albums from the 80s in England. You have to find time for these things.
Yeah, we'll see. So as noted, I have the AFC North. The first, and again, kind of Bills-esque on this side of things team, the Baltimore Ravens. So I said the theme here for both the band and the team is kind of, if you're such a big deal, why aren't you such a big deal? Right? So the Ravens, like, for as long as they've employed the one-time MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson, they've sort of automatically been in the conversation for teams that conceivably could end up in the Super Bowl, right? Like 5 out of the 6 seasons they've had with Lamar, who they drafted in 2018, I think it was, they've all resulted in like wildly successful regular seasons except for like one of them. But which
was probably the one he was hurt in, right?
I was trying to look it up because I know it was it was a real outlier, and I was trying to look up info and be like, was he out that year or did he get hurt? But yeah, I would venture to guess if he had a year where he was injured, it was probably that. But they've never reached the Super Bowl in that time. Like, they end up in a playoff game and they end up losing a playoff game. So my comparison here was actually Green Day, who, kind of similar to Mr. Bob Dylan, who came up for the same reasons, they've never had a number one hit, which sounds extremely odd, right? Like,
that's surprising.
The closest they ever came was with a number 2 in 2004, which was Boulevard of Broken Dreams. And I kind of
only
look at
number 2. Wow.
yeah, and I kind of look at both of his. I kind of look at both of them, their their output and their reputations, and I'm saying like, really, not once, like. You have Dookie on your roster and you've never topped the Billboard chart, or like, in 1998, every single homecoming dance was themed on Time of Your Life. How could you possibly do that and not have that be number 1, right? Like
For what it's worth, it was worth all the while.
yeah. And yeah, like you guys have Lamar Jackson. He put up an MVP quarterback season. Like you can't make an appearance. Like what is going on here? And kind of also for both of them, it feels like the window may be closing. This year, the Ravens are off to a 1-5 start with Lamar Jackson on the bench for a bit due to injury. And I don't really see. I can't really imagine that Green Day is going to have another American Idiot-esque like third wind coming. But also for both, I kind of feel like if it does happen, I'm not going to be shocked. Like the Ravens have such a history of doing great in the regular season. Lamar Jackson's going to be back soon. It's 1-5.
Yeah.
You play what, 17 games now?
Yeah.
You play 17 games. You've only played 6. That's definitely enough time for you to claw your way back into at least, like a wild card or something like that. And then for Green Day, they're kind of in the they're having, they could be, if they want, kind of rock, pop, punk, elder statesman. And they are also simultaneously kind of having a moment as like the trendy Gen Z like t-shirt band pick, where, I mean, if you buy the t-shirt, you're probably going to sit down and listen to some of their songs,
Hopefully.
if not the other way around, whatever. I don't know what's happening. So like, I could be throwing shade where it's not needed. But yeah, Green.
I mean, I would say they've kind of ended the Pearl Jam phase of their career where they might still be doing stuff, but throughout the big stadium show, you're probably not there for the new stuff, and they're probably not going to play the new stuff. They've got the set they're going to roll out,
but like I could imagine them like buckling down and maybe saying like, all right, well, we're gonna do a we're gonna really try, and we're gonna throw out some another time of your life type heartstring puller, and like maybe they could do it. I don't know about number 1, but like they could take a shot at it.
It doesn't seem to be a terribly competitive market in the rock charts these days, so it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I mean, and then they're also kind of doing smart little moves. Like I think I want to say was it Olivia Rodrigo or Dua Lipa, one of the two, where Billie Joe Armstrong came out and did a duet with them, and it was just like, that's how you position yourself for the next generation. And
a lot of the what David Renshaw would call the kind of new poptimism type artists, they do seem to be into. I think the last video clip I saw was I want to say it's Lana Del Rey, but she pulled up Rivers Cuomo to play Buddy Holly with her. It's probably not her. I'm probably mixing up my.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
so girl artist.
Dua Lipa with Billie Joe Armstrong. Wake me up when September ends. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Did you remember to do that? It's already. It's kind of late into October. I hope somebody remembered to wake up the Green Day guy.
I'll get back to you on that one.
All right. Well, in the meantime, give me your next team.
You bet. So next team going down the list, I have the New England Patriots. And I compared them to the 2000s version of Alice in Chains. Because there are some memories there of some absolutely legendary work done. But no matter what pieces you find, like Drake May, going forward to keep the band together, it will never be as good as that prime era Brady and Belichick. They might be building something really nice, but how the hell do you top, that era? You don't. You simply hope that you can, make something good that stands on its own. So, yeah, that's kind of short and sweet on that one.
Yeah, and I mean, I have heard rumblings that when you pop the hood and look at Drake May stats this year, like it's kind of eyebrow raising as to how good he's actually kind of doing in the shadows there, but yeah, he's likely there's likely not going to be another Tom Brady.
Right, and
No
that's
matter what you do.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to the point, like William Duvall, the current singer for Alice in Chains, like absolutely amazing vocalist, amazing. He does all of Lane's songs justice. He does the new stuff that him and Jerry wrote incredibly well, but it's not the golden era. It's simply not. Like there's nothing that'll beat Alice in Chains Unplugged, type stuff. There's nothing that'll be, the live bootlegs of Lane singing. There's nothing that's going to beat the Mad Season stuff,
And,
I guess, which is Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Yeah.
Yeah. And much like, yeah, there you go. And much, kind of much like the Alice in Chains, like, and the New Patriots, like you've got the same name, but really this is kind of a new thing, right? Like a page has been turned no matter what you've got the name, you've got the uniform, but like, I think it's understood here that
it may be 2025, but you're overcoming 20 years of an identity here, so it's still a little bit of a new thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the Patriots though, Alice in Chains can still play their old songs.
Yes.
The Patriots, you must saunter on with just yourself. So
yeah,
as much as we're mashing these two things together, there are differences. So the next team I got on my plate here, the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Bengals, as of late, and especially right now, they're a team that a lot of people look at and say, if they just had everything that they have in hand working, like they would be a true contender, right? Like, so they have a duo of wide receivers who may be at the top, very, very top. And that's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But the question that plagues the team, of course, is who's throwing to them. And
that's kind of important.
Yeah. At the moment, it's the Mr. Emergency fill-in named Joe Flacco, who is kind of the NFL equivalent of Sammy Hagar.
Oh.
He's doing passable, even good work at times, but, we're all, of course, sitting around looking at this situation and everybody is thinking, what if that crazy white boy was still here? What would things be like? So, as you may have guessed, the situation I'm describing here is Mr. David Lee Roth and Van Halen.
Joe Burrow, Lee Roth.
Yes. There you go. Both outfits have, their bottle bleached man and absentia. Both Burrow and David Lee Roth were, undeniably better than their replacements. You may have stragglers here and there who may disagree, but come on, right? Like they both have a penchant for fashion choices that would raise eyebrows. And both of them brought kind of a little bit of attitude that you can't really replace.
I believe we call that big general energy.
Yes, there you go. the Burrow songs. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the floor is the floor is always going to be high when you have the Bengals wide receiver duo or the Van Halen brothers. No matter who's out there, you're going to have that. But also your ceiling is so much higher when you have the guy that you really want out there. So, to end that, I will say, please get well, Joe Burrow. We miss you. Things are much funner, especially in Cincinnati, but around the league in general when he's the one throwing the ball. Joe Flacco, not looking bad, looking much better than he did in Cleveland. But come on, let's get our. Can the injury gods please give us a year or a break? Maybe curse someone other than the 49ers and the Bengals year after year after year.
Jesus, no kidding. We appreciate your solo dining though, Joe Flacco. Yeah.
Yes. give me a speaking of solo dining, who's next on your plate?
You bet. So in 2002 at the Video Music Awards, there was a performance that really just blew my mind, gave me hope for the future, and kind of renewed these heroes that I had. And that was Guns N' Roses. And this is the infamous Chinese Democracy era, where they had plugged in Buckethead, Robin Fink, all these kind of outcast studio guys and B-listers. And make no secret, I love Buckethead. He's one of my favorite musicians walking the earth, but he's not Slash. So to me, this reminds me a lot of the last couple of years of seeing the Miami Dolphins, with guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa. How do you say his last name?
Is it Tagovailoa?
Tagovailoa. There we go. We'll go with that. Yeah. So the idea being that oh man, there's so much promise here. There's so much excitement. But holy crap, the Dolphins are 1-6, aren't they? Yeah. Mike McDonald for all his mastermind and Axl Rose for all his songwriting genius and all the time he took. Chinese Democracy was kind of a bit of a turd. This Dolphin season, man, just a total waste. So for me, yeah, the Dolphins are resembling a little bit of that, Chinese Democracy era Guns N' Roses. It was very nice of Slash and the guys to come back and, put together a full reunion tour and put that whole episode behind them. But at the end of the day, that wasn't very good. It got me excited because it was the first we had seen Axl in about 8 years, but
which is a lot like Tagovailoa, where every once in a while you see it and you're like, if you could be this all the time, you might be able to pull this out of the trash heap. But but he's also another guy who's plagued by injury, and then often when he's not plagued by injury, he's plagued by poor play.
Right. Exactly.
There's moments where you're like, oh, I see it.
There are flashes, Axl every once in a while gets his vocal range back and covers for AC/DC and then does a great tour with Guns N' Roses. But the whole thing with Chinese Democracy too was they thought they had a lineup set, somebody would drop out. They thought they had a lineup set again. Oh, Richard Fortas drops out. Robin Fink drops out. Buckethead, isn't up for it anymore. So it's just kind of this revolving door of all this potential. They have this great running back right now in Devin Akane, but nope, it's not clicking. 1-6 is 1-6, man. At some point you just got to call it what it is, and it's just not very good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I do see. No, it's not. It's not. What's their coach's name? I know he's a McDonald, but now that we have a McDonald, I always get the two.
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel. There we go. Mike. Yeah. And you said you compared Mike McDaniel with Axl.
Kind of the architect. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's very apt because those are two people who kind of came in with the fire of youth, propping them up, and then. You get a few years down the line and now that same person needs to, they need to be more of a traditional leader and
Yeah.
and now it's like now it's just not coming together. And like, yeah, you look at the person who's leading this operation, and you're like, whoa, what are the decisions happening here? Like, what is going on?
Right. And there was no doubt, with both Axel and Mike McDaniel, that some of the early success was due to their brilliance. But at the same time, like, it kind of stalled out, and you can't help but wonder retrospectively, like, well, was it due to the parts, that they had around them, or was it simply, due to them? And I think somewhere, in between is the answer. And now that, the parts are breaking down, guys like Tyreek Hill are getting hurt. Like, you see what's left, and it's not pretty.
Well, I tell you, speaking of not pretty, the Cleveland Browns. As we had mentioned at the top, there's some spooky outfits in these two divisions. But yeah, the Cleveland Browns are perhaps the NFL's most accursed organization. They never seem to be able to get a working QB lined up. Their coaching staff is like a revolving door of hope and sadness. Recently they tried breaking out of all of this with like a huge blockbuster trade for a guy who may have been good at one time, but was like out of the league for a year or two following like a sex pest scandal. And wouldn't you know it, it's a move that like completely blows up in their faces, and like
they signed Gary Glitter.
Yeah. I bet they wish they signed Gary Glitter.
Hey.
At least you'd have a little fun song to play over your PA. But yeah, like, so, I mean, for a moment there, I wanted to say Spinal Tap, but like, Spinal Tap has good songs at the end of the day. Like, I couldn't put that on them. But like, it wasn't always this way. I've been informed that for a stretch in like the late 80s and 90s, they were free of this kind of perennial stink that's on them. And, they were showing up in conference championships, multiple years, putting up winning records, but it's a legacy that's like long, long gone. Right.
Yeah.
And like the people who are Cleveland Brown fans, like that's what they cling to, It's either that or a combination of like that and just, having it be part of your personality that you are rooting for a bad team.
I'm guessing Ted Nugent. Am I close?
Oh, I mean, you're not out of the stadium. The band I actually lined up with this was Metallica.
Oh,
yeah, because right now Metallica is not good, and they've been not good for a very long time. But there is, there was a time when they were good. But like, what has happened? Like, what have they given us since then? That's not just been like painful, really. And
I'm going to run with that because I saw them last summer. Was that last summer? 2 summers ago. Well, 2024, whatever you want to call that. The show itself was awesome, and maybe that's akin to playing an old highlight tape.
Yeah, like the
new stuff. Yeah, the new stuff. Everybody sat down. I'm talking 70,000 people sat down.
Yeah,
they play Master of Puppets. Everybody's up, going crazy, singing along. But anything post Black Album, maybe even Load, nobody gave two shits about. That's time to go get a beer. That's time to sit down.
Yeah,
it's time to check your phone.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna allow it.
But it's just, for both of them, like anyone younger than 40 cannot possibly have, their own personal memory of when this band or this team was good. And also, in addition to to this, the Browns also recently did their own version of firing Dave Mustaine, right? They sent Joe Flacco to an in-division opponent, and now Joe Flacco is looking kind of good while they still look like shit, right? Like,
Oh, that's painful. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
yeah. I also said, if you don't like that, then you could also point to Baker Mayfield perhaps being the Mustaine equivalent. A man dismissed too early who kind of internalized that rejection and went on to create his own greener pastures. Perhaps kind of spurred on by a need to get back at those who didn't see his potential at first, right?
Just so we clear the air on this one, are we agreeing that Lars is Deshaun Watson, or?
I actually, the next point I actually had written down, and I noted that this is just pure vibes, but I said, Shadur Sanders is a real Lars. Like, right? Like, I don't know. I would say,
I think unfortunately they have a lot of Lars going on that team.
yeah, I would kind of say Watson, whatever else he has going on or not going on, he's definitely internalized that he's fucked up and sucks, and nobody likes him.
The name escapes me, but I think actually I'm going to give Watson the honor of being the shrink in the Some Kind of Monster documentary.
Yeah, there you
to insert himself into the writing process, and was just
there you go.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, and it just like never worked, and like immediately everybody was like, "The hell out of here!" Like,
yeah, you're trying to help but get fucked already.
Yeah, but I think an important part of Larsness is that you refuse to acknowledge the situation, and that's very Shadur to me at the moment.
Yeah, he's very he's an interesting fellow. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah,
he's this generation's Johnny Manziel.
Except Johnny Manziel got a shot. Like,
right?
We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, things. I mean, it's the Browns, so I mean, the elevator only goes down, and it at some point is going to pass his floor, right? So
yeah, and Shadur, when the elevator tries to take you down, go crazy.
Yeah, there you go. Who do you got?
All right, so we're rounding this out.
Is this your last one or second to last one?
This is my last one.
All right, yeah.
Really, with just the cream of the crop, of this division, let alone the league in general, and that's the New York Jets. So
is this like John Denver as the plane is going down?
That might actually work too. So funny enough, I wrote this prior to the owner bagging on the quarterback, Justin Fields. I'll just read what I wrote. Oh, you added Justin Fields, who's all over the place. Yep. Still sucks. A few pyrotechnics here and there. A lot like Five Finger Death Punch. They added guitarist Andy James the last few years, who can totally shred. But hey, guess what? They still suck. He's a shred machine, but join that band and forget all of your street cred. So I'm just going to go with, the New York Jets is Five Finger Death Punch. Just a gross, annoying piece of shit that somehow gets national attention. It has no right doing so, and no matter who you swap in, you still suck. So
yeah, did any of Five Finger Death Punch management or ownership recently fund a Donald Trump ballroom, or is there any synergy here?
It wouldn't surprise me, not to stereotype and typecast, but I think there's a little bit of a that's kind of one of the more pickup truck driving rock metal bands out there in the world. So,
well, you got to find your niche.
Hey, I mean, yeah, money doesn't discriminate, I suppose, and that's how they make their money off hillbillies like that. So yeah. Let's just move on, because they're
I was gonna say much like everyone else, we don't want to look at the Jets either. too long.
Justin Fields was at best like an exciting fantasy opportunity, and even then he's just dog shit, in a dog shit organization. So it didn't get better.
Yeah. Well, to sign off on not such a depressing note, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey.
So the Steelers to me are kind of a team it's defined by one single man's refusal to like give in to being bad no matter what is happening. And that man is Coach Mike Tomlin, right? Like his iron will and dedication alone seems to like somehow be able to keep them out of having a losing record. They haven't actually posted a losing record in 21 years.
Wow.
I think the closest they came was in one of those years. I think they went even.
Yeah.
But it's a real...
the COVID year or something, and they still made the playoffs.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a real workman-like steadiness and stubbornness that also kind of reflects the city of Pittsburgh. But it wasn't automatically the case when Tomlin arrived first on the scene. He was 34 when he was first hired, and he was one of the youngest head coaches ever at the time. He was only the 10th black head coach the league had ever had. So he kind of, more than most, he had to prove that he belonged, and he did so by becoming, one of the league's most kind of steady and dependable figures around. And, and even some may argue that they might have experienced higher highs if they would have accepted lower lows, maybe got some draft picks that came along with that sort of thing. But, that's not what the Steelers do. Like they stick to what they do. They put up
winning culture.
They put up an above average defense and lean on it to give space for offenses that may, change over the years. And it's always pretty good. But also more often than not, the quarterback position is held by a weird white guy, right? Especially right now. But
Mason Rudolph is not weird. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's never had any incidents.
No.
But it's kind of that dedication, consistency, and like single-mindedness, and also with a dash of weird white guyness that brings me to the comparison band / artist, which is Andrew WK.
Ah.
Yes. So, despite not sharing the same melanin levels, it's melanin, right? Melatonin's the one that puts you to sleep.
Right.
I think I'm correct here. All right. But, like Mike Tomlin, Andrew...
What you're saying is that one's a honking, one's genuine chocolate.
Correct.
Face,
one drives like this, one drives like this.
Lenny equals yes.
Yeah. So, but like Mike Tomlin, Andrew WK's kind of identity and style were not automatically accepted, amongst the music elite and, opinion makers. He kind of had to spend years of doing exactly what he does to prove that, this was not, that he's not a Mike McDaniel. And what he did was party and rock. And Andrew WK kind of leans on rocking and partying the same way that Mike Tomlin leans on his defense. He believes with all of his heart that if he just rocks out hard enough and he just says party enough times, that he will win. And just like Mike Tomlin's teams, kind of for the past 2 decades, you can't argue with results. Like, public opinion did come back around. He outlasted his haters. And turned, at this point, everybody looks at Andrew WK and they're like, oh, okay. Like, if he had done that for one album or maybe 2 albums and then gone away, everybody would have been like, yeah, that guy was just kidding around. But right. He's stuck around. He's put out a lot of albums, and they're all of a certain, they're not breaking records. They're not, showing up on the Billboard charts, but
they're all him.
They're absolutely all him. And I would say they're all not bad. And they all still are very concerned with partying. So,
I like it.
That's what I see in both, is a singular figure who has kind of willed their way into being good.
I think you have a singular figure that I'm going to have to listen to again tomorrow, because I don't think I've listened since like 2003, 2004.
Yeah, I'll look up the name of like the last like single or album that I had grabbed from him and listened to, and I was like, yep, he's still at it.
He was on Aqua Teen Hunger Force at one point in the last little bit, and yeah, it was a good little cameo on there too. But no, I think he deserves a few clicks.
Yeah, he also one of the, I don't think it was, I was going to say Borderlands, but I think it was actually the Bethesda /ID games like ripoff of Borderlands called Rage. I think it might have been the sequel or something like that, but he was pretty like heavily involved in like the promo, because they took one of his newer songs and like kind of made it like the trailer anthem, and then like, I don't know, they must have got him in a package deal, because he was like showing up at like E3 or something like that, like for like rock it out and like being part of it. And I think he might have been a character in there too. So yeah, like,
just to show how much respect amongst our kind he deserves. Do you know who his wife is? Kat Dennings.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did know that in the back of my head.
I mean, like,
yeah,
we can sidebar that one, but
one of the broke girls and involved in the Marvel universe. So
exactly.
Yeah. You're you don't have to
more stacked than 8 pancakes at IHOP. I mean,
yeah, he doesn't need to be selling. he doesn't need to be hitting platinum albums in order to eat. So yeah, maybe that's a part of it.
Exactly. No, he's done quite well for himself.
Yeah,
just by partying hard.
Yeah. All right.
Well, we've
moving right along.
As Bill and Ted said, we've been to the past, we've been to the future, we've been to heaven and hell. But what are some of your favorite show moments since we last talked?
Yeah, let's go over these. Well, let's see. Some of the topics he had pulled out here. Let's see. Where was my? I think the first one was like fave moments.
Yeah, totally.
Fave moments from the show. I know I said I wouldn't play favorites with the interviews, but I don't think anybody in there is going to be like offended or shocked to learn that there's like a special place in my heart for the fact that
or listening. Yeah.
No. Yeah. If any of them are listening, like, we love
you the most.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be pleasantly surprised, but I would say I don't think any of them would be like surprised or shocked to hear that there's like a special place in my heart for the fact that we grabbed John Stanier and Ian from Battles as an interview with an actual artist who made an album on the list. Like, totally inexplicably agreeing to talk to us about Mirrored and like their whole careers.
Both of them separately at that, it wasn't like a group email or something. It was, both of them via Instagram agreeing to talk, and it took a little bit of time, but they did it. Yeah. And it was great. So yeah, I mean, that's clearly a special moment for the show that, I think I've said it a few times on the show, but like, number one, I when we first set out, I hadn't even thought about the fact that we could interview people. Right.
And then I forget how it came along, but I was absolutely shocked that we would get to interview the NME writers who had made up the list, and talk about The Office and the magazine and just kind of the music scene of that moment. And then beyond that, I definitely had never conceived of talking to any of the bands who had made an album on the list, much less one that like I had already known and was like really, I had really loved, from way before. So yeah, I think that was mine.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I
Oh,
mean, I think
and
for
I was also the other one I had written down. I was like, I needed to read it back and be like, oh wait, I do need to mention this. But I think you were about to mention something else, but just the entire show itself. I don't know if anybody out there is aware, but 40-something-year-old dads don't get as much free time as one might think, and
yeah,
and it's actually really nice to populate that free time, being able to spend it with an actual literal old friend from back in the day, right? And like doing something productive,
right.
and kind of enriching and challenging. And yeah, like we said, if it was just us two listening back to these, like I get a lot out of it anyway.
Totally.
So, the fact that there's other people who may also is awesome and is a total highlight. But I would still be enjoying it if no one was.
Yeah, I mean, there's other cats that'll sit at the bar and talk shit. There's dudes that'll get together and form a bowling league. We've done all those at various points in our life, but here we are.
This is a good
via internet connection, writing a show, coming up with fun bits that make us laugh and smile, and talking music. I mean, what could be better?
Yeah. What was yours?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to piggyback off that, I put the human connections in general. You and I working on a common goal, basically just like all of a sudden this idea snowballed to make this show. Let's do it, and every week, maybe we don't record an episode every week, but we're still throwing ideas back and forth. And wouldn't it be funny if, hey, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, next time. So it's this constant like spark of creativity between us. But also meeting like the new people that we interview, that we learn from, are inspired by. Like you said, we interviewed a band on the list, for crying out loud. We don't work for a magazine or anything like that. We have our own careers, completely independent of music, writing, journalism, anything of that nature. But we're just two guys in our 40s putting effort and enthusiasm out there in the world, and for the most part, we've been really fortunate to make some rather kind and humble connections with some very nice people, and learn a lot. And I would say in terms of favorite moments too, maybe it wasn't number one on my list, but I think that deep spiritual talk around like the Coltrane episode, it's one of the ones that I've re-listened to. I'm not one. I do a lot of the editing, so I hear a lot of it a second time pretty quickly. So I don't listen back a lot. But that one for me, it felt so raw, personal, and honest. I think there's a lot of shows out there that will give you information, but maybe not share themselves in that way. And, that's kind of a prouder one for me in just terms of like letting the veil down of like, this is who I am as a person, and this is what I believe, and this is what I've been through, and this is how I can relate to this musician. And, it's a unique thing you don't find in a lot of shows, I feel like. And
no, I was going to say that's one that has it's got a real unique extra. There's an extra layer to those. It's actually both the episodes, the episode about the album, and then also talking with Dr. Nicholas Baham, which took it to it was the same. It was the same. It was the same unique feature of that episode, but taken like somewhere else into another level. And
totally,
yeah, totally. What's like the favorite rabbit hole that you've been sent down by the show? Like just kind of a topic that's you've found deeper or just more multifaceted than you would have expected before.
Yeah, I think I'll chalk this up to the opening my mind in general experience that this show has really brought to me. But I would say electronic music. That was something coming into 2025, most of my life, that I had no particular ill will towards, but I wasn't well versed in. I couldn't tell you Daft Punk from any other artist out there. I probably couldn't even name, 6 or 7 electronic artists, to be honest. But, between your recommendations, between, finding new things to listen to based off of that, between the albums that have popped up along the way, it's really just, brought a whole new sound and genre into my life. It's really been a lot of fun and really inspired me to get some things done musically. Like I have a keyboard now. I have one of those launch pads. I have, some microphones to record with, a musical interface. Like I have one guitar. I don't have a bunch of effects pedals. I'm working all digital now because I've seen what's possible and what you can do with a computer and electronic platforms. So it's really just kind of reinvented how I look at music, and as well as just what's in my daily listening repertoire. But yeah, how about you?
I wrote down. I think like we talked about it earlier, but like the Triforce of stories kind of revolving around David Bowie's "Let's Dance." When that one first popped up, number one, I wasn't aware at all of the Stevie Ray Vaughan connection with that album. So like finding that out and where that fits into his story was pretty shocking. But even when I first picked that one up, I said, "Oh, this will be a fun time. This will be a fun time to talk about Nile Rodgers." But just the way all 3 of their stories kind of intertwine and like kind of pass by each other at that exact moment,
Right.
Bowie is in kind of a weird middle region, where he's kind of emerging into that era of the 80s that like he doesn't have like big love for, and kind of he's at like that moment of his career. Nile is like post disco crashing into the mountain, and he's parachuted out and is finding he's embarking on the next part, and Stevie Ray Vaughan is at the very beginning of his journey, and he's getting like a big break, and it was just super cool. It was super cool just see those stories existing at the same time, and kind of it results in there's a result, there's an album you can listen to, and while at the same time thinking about like, wow, like think about all the stuff that's happening. But yeah, we talked about that earlier. The other one I wanted to give a quick shout out to was the what I've been calling the Birds extended cinematic universe.
Yes.
You can stand at the origin point of the Birds and like throw a rock at any of the because all the whole thing is that like everybody like quits that band, starts another band or 2, including the guy that we did an episode on, Graham Parsons. And then, sometimes they come back to the Birds. Sometimes they quit those bands and create other bands, usually with other people who used to be in the Birds. Right. And like all of them that I've listened to, I've enjoyed and thought were pretty cool. So like, just like I said, just like standing at the origin point of the Birds and like throwing a rock and hitting one of these bands and being like, oh, this is very nice, either hippie rock or like country rock like type music too. Yeah, I've
no matter which thread you follow, it's gonna.
Yeah, I'm definitely not at the bottom of that one, but yeah, I could keep going and finding more of these. It seems like, yeah, correct, yeah.
So I guess maybe following that thread a little bit. Any morsels of info that stand out to you that you didn't know or just really didn't think about before the episodes?
I would say the fact that Tom Waits' first album sounds like that. I had no idea that something like that existed. And it's very good, but it's absolutely not what I would have thought of when I said, "Oh, we're doing Tom Waits episode." Like, there's obviously something that I think about in my head when I think Tom Waits, and it wasn't that, but it was a very, very pleasant surprise.
Right, it's a lot less scurvy pirate banging on trash music. Yeah,
yeah. Also, kind of how foundational Parliament and Funkadelic are to, not just artists, but like entire genres, and like how, and it's not not even just by like implication or kind of, like vague maybiness, like multiple artists that we've covered on episodes have like literally said, like, that's an inspiration, or that's part of our, vocabulary of music.
Totally
is them. And yeah, that's just interesting. Every time it pops up, and it pops up a lot, like, it's like, oh, like I didn't quite appreciate just how how much of a origin point they are for a lot of different things.
Right, like Outkast would be good hip hop artist by the alone, but with that Parliament Funkadelic influence, it's like adding that secret sauce that takes them to the next level. And just
and some people, take instrumentation from them. Some people take like the attitude, or some people are taking the willingness to be fun and funny. So there's just a lot of people a lot of people owe a lot to George Clinton, Parliament, and Funkadelic. And then finally, just the fact that the Coltrane Church exists, and then being able to talk to a member, that was like that went from a shocking, like, really, to to being able to having like a personal connection and a conversation with a pretty important member of that church.
To, like, even for me at least, wow, everything you're saying makes sense. This isn't Scientology kooky talk. This is actually,
no,
I can subscribe to all of this, no problem.
Yeah,
I wish you guys were closer.
Yeah, for real. How about you?
Yeah, I think, stuff that kind of snuck up on me was like the jumping off point that krautrock was in general, and just how many genres that went on to inform, whether it's just, playing all the electronic music, hip hop beats, just everything that, stemmed from it, even like certain punk rock sounds, like that Noise 75 album, the B side of the album had a little bit more of like that driving guitar and dirty vocals, which was still like 4 or 5 years pre like New York punk. So it was just a lot of like, wow, okay, not only are you guys doing psychedelic, you're inspiring hip hop, you're inspiring punk, you're inspiring all these like new wave proto punk type things. Like, for as much as you guys are kind of the genesis of these things, in a lot of ways, very little credit, is due there, or is given there, I should say. It was just kind of surprising to me to hear all that. One thing too, I've always been a fan. But like realizing the only way you could define David Bowie is that like he can't be defined. There is no singular sound. There's no singular David Bowie is this sort of artist. Yes, in the grand scheme of things, he's a rock and roll artist. Sure, we can go that broad. But whether it's 2 to 3 albums at most, the sound keeps evolving. And Diamond Dogs to Let's Dance. We go through 3 different iterations, in between 2 to 3 different iterations of like David Bowie's sound. Like, yes, again, it's still the same rock and roll artist, but how he sounds on the album Low to how he sounds on Let's Dance is completely different.
I think it's I think we've already joked on it, but the kind of the fact that every single David Bowie episode is going to start, or the artist info or the album info, it's going to start with somebody saying, David Bowie was at a transitional point in his life.
Right.
Like literally every point of David Bowie's life is a transitional moment.
The only musical constant for Bowie is there is no constant. It's constantly evolving, and it's constantly changing, and he's constantly drawing in other influences and, making something new out of them. And I think it just gives me more respect for the guy as an artist, and, how many times he reinvented himself. And it's just basically his gimmick almost is to reinvent himself.
Yep. And I mean, you kind of, I mean, it's something that you hear about him, but then like digging into the story, and then listening to the albums with like real intention, you're like, oh, like that's, it's not just something that people say because he's, he likes to change characters or whatever. Like literally every album is something. He went so far to the edges of what he could do, every time. Yeah.
Right. One thing we haven't talked too much this episode about it, but that Patti Smith episode, it really gave me an interesting historical perspective to think of how young punk is. She was at the forefront of it in 1975. And before you know it, 1978, 1979, we already kind of have this claim that it's being corporatized. And a lot of the OG punks and the underground punks are kind of like, well, that's not really punk anymore. That's kind of sellout stuff. But just kind of that for maybe one of the first times you start to see this totally counterculture movement swooped up and taken into mass marketing appeal. I mean, you have stories like the Sex Pistols being formed as the first boy band, where it's just oh yeah, for his counterculture.
And they last what, a year?
Right. And maybe 9 months. Yeah. For as much as we think this is counterculture, a lot of this just became so mass consumed and, mass marketed. And yes, there's obviously great scenes that kept going, like the LA and DC stuff through the 80s and everything. But yeah, the New York scene, once they got kind of hold of, punk, it was well, let's go another direction again. Let's go new wave. Let's make a new sound yet again.
Let's attach an alt a little bit to it, right?
Right, exactly. All of a sudden, the Ramones were getting their own movie, and it's okay, well, what can the Talking Heads do? What can Blondie do? Yeah,
one of the interesting things, I don't know if anybody else is experiencing it, but especially now that we've logged, and we like to look at the kind of context of the culture and the history, around the time period of when an album comes out. But one of the side effects of doing that is that I'm getting kind of a piecemeal picture, especially when albums are close to each other, of this was happening at the same time as this, or these two albums came out at the same time, or this is when Margaret Thatcher was ruling over Britain. Right. This is when this came out, or this is this is right before the second Iraq War and stuff like that. It's the picture of, or the kind of timeline of this music, it becomes more and more clear the more that we hit, and the more that we talk about the years the years and months in which these things came out. I've found that pretty interesting.
Totally. I think, and the last thing, I would touch on is that, sometimes we think of sounds and scenes kind of just always existing. But, sometimes the genesis or kind of start of a sound or genre can almost be attributed to one man. And, even though it wasn't my favorite album, the idea that Graham Parsons is kind of this Genesis point of country and rock, centered around him, it's almost kind of like the coffee and milk thing. Like country and rock, what a drink! What a sound! Who would have thought country and rock?
Yeah, that was an odd feeling all throughout the both the research and that episode. Is so many it's like so much of that story is Graham Parsons like trying to roll the rock up. I mean, did not mean to make a pun, but he's trying to roll the like boulder up the hill,
right,
and turn country rock into a thing. And from our perspective, like 75 years later or whatever, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like country rock like must have always existed, but like,
right,
at least not in the form that. At least not in the the exact form, because they had like Elvis, but that's very prototypical, and he's kind of doing, he's.
We can call it rockabilly if we want to get semantics, he has bluesier,
yeah. He has bread and he has meat, but Graham Parsons is walking around saying, "Try this sandwich." Like it has this has everything on it. Like this is what it's supposed to be, right? Like and apparently everyone's like, "No, what are you talking about? Why do you have greens and
why are you toasting and melting that sandwich together?"
Yeah, what is you put cheese with your bread and your meat? Like Graham, what are you talking about? Get out of here! And then
you sick fuck.
Yeah. So many years later, everybody's got a deli on the corner.
Right? Yeah,
we're walking around like, a sandwich, of course.
Everybody's toasting their subs now,
Yeah.
No biggie. Yeah. So I think it's just interesting, so you dive into some of these older albums, like, these are genuinely like aha moments, so to speak.
Yeah.
The light bulb wasn't always on. It had to start somewhere.
Yeah. Another one like that is Isaac Hayes shoving an orchestra into his soul music, like that. Yeah. Like, of course, like everything that comes after that, and in particular, like movie soundtracks and blaxploitation music, like that's what that is. But of course, there had to be one man who was like, why don't we put a full orchestra behind this kind of
telling me to make something. I want to make this.
Yeah. So, was there anything else that you kind of wish to say retrospectively about any of the albums that we've covered? Because I have one. If I have, I forget if this was one that I appended, but I do have one. If you need to think, or if you need to find yours.
Yeah, why don't you go for it? I definitely have some things to say.
Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's almost like an honorable mention, or also ran for my top 5 power rankings. Or I don't want to imply that this one was like number 6 or something, but this is just like. This is something that's like stuck in my craw that like still perplexes me. But it's the Morrissey album, Vauxhall and I. Like, I feel like I still can't really wrap my head around that one. Like, I would need another 5 episodes to figure out like what is so oddly like compelling about that album, and like figure out, is it bad? Is it one of my favorites? Like, I don't know.
That's really funny.
Usually like I would usually say, the 2 hours or whatever or more that we drop on an album is usually enough to like build kind of a base camp of understanding, and at least figure out our own sort of sum up of what's up with it. Yeah. But like the Vauxhall episode feels like I wrote down it feels like we were on a cross country flight, looked out the window and saw Godzilla, and we're like, what the fuck? But the plane just kept flying, right? Like, like, we land and everybody's like, what are you talking about, Godzilla? Like, yeah, but it's just, I think I said it on the episode or something similar to it, But another thing that I said it felt like was it's like our podcast equivalent of when you're playing a video game and you get into a fight with the actual like main bad guy 30 minutes into the game, and like it's pre-scripted that they're going to like fuck your shit up, like they're going to kick your ass, and then after that, you know, they set off a cutscene where they reveal he's your dad and he runs away. Like that's what it felt like Morrissey did to us, and you know, I mean, we say it with all the big artists, but it's like, you know, we'll meet again, and
we definitely
perhaps we will defeat you. But
we and you know, it might take a couple rounds, and we might have to figure out what weapons you're, you know, not immune against.
Yeah, we might need to figure out our party, you know, who to bring, who not to bring.
Yeah, you know, I think the one thing, and I was actually going to bring up that album as well for this, is just that the human condition's weird in that it's so hard to separate the artist from the art, no matter how hard I try. You know, another example of that is like the Aztec camera guy and kind of like how pompous he was at times, or like the guy from the Shins, or Morrissey and his outspoken views. Like, these are all really good albums. You know, some better than others. And, you know, if Morrissey hadn't said these things and we didn't have enemy writers on here saying like, oh, I wouldn't vote for that now. How would I feel about that album? You know, if I was simply me in a silo with no knowledge of this person, you know, listening to it and just saying, what do I think of this music? And but you can't have both. You know, the job we've made on this show is to present story and narrative around the music and what created it and who this person is. So it becomes tough.
And I think like you're saying, it's possible to kind of, it's possible to try and imagine or like conceive of what that might feel like. But yeah, I don't think there's any real way for us to, and I think that's okay. And I think that's okay. Like, you know, I mean, I think there's times where you may wish you were able to do it. Like, I really wish I could go back and listen to, Yeezus and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and maybe even Life of Pablo and not have to think about Kanye, but like it's not going to happen.
Like, I mean, I think there's a bit of, I don't know if it's forgiveness or unawareness with like the next generation below us with like Michael Jackson right now, you know, and some of his songs getting more airplay than they have in the last 20 years. And it's a little bit of maybe like time forgets some of these things.
Yeah,
I can't listen to Michael Jackson without equating that story. You know, all the stories and the rumors and the whatever you want to call it. So it's just kind of, it becomes part of, I don't want to say part of the music, but it becomes part of the music.
It does. You know? It does become part of the music. I mean, even, you know, like I had, and I listened to, and I was a big fan of Mirrored when it came out. And, you know, like I said, like that's one of those albums that would pop up for me like every, you know, at least every like year or two. And I'd listen to it again. I'd be like, oh, that's right. But of course, that album now is going to be, it's a completely different experience having talked to John and having talked to Ian and having, you know, on top of that, you know, studied the story of that album and like everything that happens afterwards. Like that totally colors, you know, even an album that I do, like I have that in my past. I have that experience of just having it be an album that I listened to and that I didn't know anything about. And like, yeah, now it's totally different now that I know things about it, and especially now that I've talked directly to like two of the guys who made it.
Totally.
Like, yeah,
and it's almost not even fair to rank that one because it's a completely unique experience compared to the rest of them. Yeah, it's very colored. Yeah, totally. I mean, you know, like the narrative thing too, and how that affects other stuff. Like, I found myself the last week or two listening to a lot of the late 60s, early 70s Rolling Stones, where, you know, they definitely had that country, you know, tinge going on.
And you can imagine one man sitting up in there, literally sitting up in their attic, waiting to tempt
there's
to tempt Keith with.
There's Graham Parsons with the suitcase full of lewds and every other drug known
and
to
an
man.
acoustic guitar, telling Keith like, "Hey, why don't you play it like this?"
Right, and these songs before that, it's just like, oh wow, the Rolling Stones are pretty soft here. Oh, now I get it. It's actually their country influenced hanging out with Graham Parsons phase that brought this on, and he brought the country stuff to these British boys, and oh wow, okay, that's kind of cool that that's how this worked out, and now I have this whole different appreciation for it. So yeah, I just it really, even if tomorrow we said we're done with the show, like the power of like researching and learning the narrative behind the music, it's just so much fun and so interesting, gives so much context to everything that just really amps everything up for me.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess, final question here, at least, if, we're doing Mother Nature a favor and we're going to plant a little tree, what's maybe like a pit stop episode you might want to do in the next 25, or a topic? Obviously we don't know all the albums that are kind of come up again, but like, what's something you might want to dive into just as like a personal favorite, or I wish I knew more about?
Yeah. So we don't know which albums are incoming, but we do know which albums are not incoming. Right?
That's true.
One of the pit stops that I feel was like the Humphrey Bogart, like we've had this date from the beginning. When I realized there is no Tom Petty on the list, I felt like, well, I'm just going to have to shoehorn that in at multiple points, but perhaps one ultimate point as a pit stop episode. Yeah. I feel like his non-inclusion on the list is a very, very big oversight, and especially because another thing I've mentioned before is that him and the Heartbreakers got big in the UK before they got big in the United States. So like,
yeah,
why wouldn't NME want to put their stamp on that, and make mention? But so there's that one, and then also I think you had mentioned guitar effects. We did recently on the White Stripes Elephant episode have a segment where I plugged in because on that album Jack White only uses two effects pedals, and it's two effects pedals that I have clones of, basically, or something reasonably close. So I took the opportunity to kind of turn them on and off and kind of demonstrate, like, this is what a guitar sounds like with this and without it, and with this knob tweaked. And that was a lot of fun. I could see doing a whole pit stop on that.
Yeah, I
plugging in the rest of them and then saying, like, if somebody says flanger or phaser, this is what they're talking about. Like, yeah, we could do that.
This is the difference between fuzz, overdrive, and distortion. Oh
yeah,
yes, they're all.
I don't know if anybody but us two would be into it, but
right. No, but I think kind of going to what I said earlier, like, I'd love to talk to an engineer or two. Like, it's interesting to know, like, some of the finer points of the sounds, and even down to the, like, okay, well, what is, these guys both use delays 30 years apart. David Gilmour used this delay, and the Edge used this delay. Like, what are the differences? What are what gear are we talking about here? Stuff like that definitely appeals to me. Just breaking down equipment. How do I do this?
Yeah, and I do think we do tend to naturally end up talking a lot about studios and producers. I like to do that because I feel like that's one of those things that you don't hear much about. A lot of times you'll go through, like an album's credits or the Wikipedia page, and they just mentioned this. They just mentioned this person produced it, and that's it. But, like, you click on that person's name, and you find out they've produced like just hundreds of albums, and a whole ton of them are ones that you like or ones that we've covered on the show, where you find out that
14 Degrees from Graham Parsons. Yeah,
I was going to say one of them turns out to be one of Graham Parsons' Flying Burrito Brothers band, bandmates, that we had talked about. So yeah, that would be really fun to give those people even more due than we're doing already.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think for me, if I had a goal for the next run, it'd be maybe just shedding some light on, some more cult-ish artists, that we've kind of alluded to, whether that's some of our favorite metal bands that might not get the love, especially from this type of crowd, or, the guys like Buckethead, Mike Patton, Frank Zappa, the more like avant-garde-ish artists, just kind of off the beaten path stuff that maybe they're never going to have a top 500 album, but they've definitely contributed a lot.
Yeah, I think we may have started down the path and then not picked it up again, but I think we were trying to get in touch with one of the Kerrang writers from like the same period.
Yes.
And I feel like that would be a nice cool way to either pit stop or segue into talking about, especially the UK metal that's not really included on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've banged that drum many times over, and we've got a former melody maker writer who we refer to as the enemy of our NME, right?
And that's Professor James Martin, for anybody who's not aware.
Love him. God bless that man.
Yeah. So yeah, that would definitely be, we're gonna end up with at least one metal pit stop here. I mean, we've had an Aussie one, so we've had one.
Totally.
There's gonna be at least one more, I'm sure, somewhere down the line.
We're due at least one more in the next 25. I gotta think.
Yeah.
At least. So kind of looking at our agenda here, we have in notes here to talk about our March Madness tournament. Do we want to review that tonight, or do we want to save that for maybe like kicking off the Prince episode next time?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this episode has been more action packed than I expected, so I think it may be healthy to. We started this project and then haven't picked it back up, but. Yeah, we wanted to do a tournament where on one side it's a bunch of albums that we think should have been included on the list, and then on the other conference it's a bunch of albums that we think should not be on the list. And it was either an episode or two ago, but we kind of established our like 4 to 8 albums that we wanted included, and then this episode we were going to talk about the 4 to 8 that we want to disinclude. But I think we might save that for talking about on the next episode or something like that. Because I mean, number one, we've talked a lot. We've talked more on this episode than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be kind of breezy, but we've gotten deep, and it's been fun. But talking about albums that we want to kick off the list is also kind of it's a little bit of a negative Nancy type thing that so we'll save that.
Okay.
But we do have we do want to do a spin to line up another album after both Purple Rain and Can's Ege Bomyasi.
Well, would you like to play a game first or later?
Yeah, so we're going to do that, but before that, we have a little game lined up.
All right. Well, welcome one and welcome all. Kelsey Productions here is the proud sponsor of a new game that is sweeping the nation, and that is a game called Tailor Made, where I tell you, Mr. Brady, as well as you, the listener, are these lyrics off the new Taylor Swift album or lyrics written by somebody with the name Taylor somewhere in their name? Are you ready for the first one?
I am, and I wanted to let the audience know that number one, I had not seen that many lyrics from the new Taylor Swift album. I think maybe like the initial explosion, I may have absorbed, one or two as shrapnel. But as soon as we came up with the idea for this game, which was not too long after, I tried to do media blackout on like anything Taylor Swift, basically. So I promise I'm not cheating. I will let you know if for some reason I do recognize, like one comes up that I do recognize, but yeah, I really tried to not see them.
You're only human.
This idea came up.
Yeah, you're only human. You do have social media, so if you've seen them or heard them, it's all good.
Yeah, all right. I'll let you know though.
I think the bigger challenge will be if you can name the other ones that aren't hers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Okay, cool. So let's the first one here. I will read them, and if I need to read them again, let me know.
Will do.
Okay. I feel the night explode when we're together. Emotion overload in the heat of pleasure. Take me, I'm yours, into your arms. Never let me go. Tonight, I really need to know. Now, is that Taylor Swift? Or is that another artist with Taylor in the
name? I'm really 50-50 here. It almost sounds like and I mean this doesn't I don't think this differentiates too much, but it sounds like an 80s pop song. Like I would expect this to be on the track after I Think We're Alone Now, but I don't think that girl had Taylor in her name. I'm going to say Taylor Swift.
You were disturbingly on track until you took that right turn at the end there for your safety blanket, Miss Swift.
Dang
it was actually Tell It to My Heart by Taylor Dane from the 1980s. Yeah, so good instincts. Trust him, man. Trust him.
Okay.
You know what's going on.
Taylor Dane. Okay.
All right. You ready for another one?
Yeah.
All right.
And
Taylor Dane, Tell It to My Heart. Yeah, it's a good one. All right. Next one. Her name was Kitty. Made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her keys to the city. Then they said she didn't do it legitly. Oh. Now, is that Taylor Swift? Or is that another Tay-Tay?
Now, I will admit, like, I'm not familiar with like Taylor Swift's like entire thing. Like, I've heard some hits, and like maybe one or two other than that. But it just, I don't know who it sounds like, but I don't think that's her. And I'm I'm also completely blanking on other Taylor names, so I don't think I'm going to get the bonus points, but I don't think that one's her.
Okay. Well, it's her. That's from the title track "Life of a Showgirl" by Taylor Swift.
Read
again the lyrics. Her name was Kitty.
Read that one back one more time.
Yeah. Her name was Kitty, made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her keys to the city. They said she didn't do it legitly. Oh. Life of a Showgirl by Taylor Swift.
Like, I mean, that sounds like I'm like trying to write lyrics to the Cats musical by memory. Not memory
now,
from
wasn't she
Cats,
in the Cats movie?
What was she? The CGI one?
I think so. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, give me the next question, and I'll look that up. That does sound kind of familiar.
All right. Now the next lyric is, and I know you think it comes off vicious, but it's precious, adorable, like a toy chihuahua barking at me from a tiny purse. That's how much it hurts.
Man,
I'm not even sure that makes sense.
I'm totally lost. I'm totally lost in this game. Oh my god! Well, give me that one more time, because number one, I was thrown off because I do see a YouTube video here that's titled "Taylor Swift sings McCavity and gives the Jellicles catnip." So yeah, she was in the
Wow.
she was in the CGI Cats movie.
I mean, weren't we all?
We should do a pit. We should do a pit stop on that.
Probably
a
mystery,
COVID reminiscence / Cats episode.
An Indy 500 theater episode. Yes.
There we go.
So the lyrics again. And I know you think it comes off vicious, but it's precious, adorable, like a toy chihuahua barking at me from a tiny purse. That's how much it hurts.
I'm gonna say this is Taylor.
It is Taylor. This is from the song "Actually Romantic."
All right. Yeah. I don't know what tipped me off, but like, yeah, I for some reason I have some vague sense of her almost doing like her version of like diss track lyrics, and like that kind of sounded like somebody that kind of sounded like somebody who reminds me of Taylor Swift, like trying to tell somebody like, you know, you're small.
I like it.
It's no Kendrick Lamar, but yeah, I get the image. I get the image.
Yeah, no hanging A minors there going on. That's for sure. All right, next one. I still press your letters to my lips and cherish them in parts of me that savor every kiss. I couldn't face a life without your light. But all of that was ripped apart when you refused to fight.
That I'm gonna say was did Taylor Hawkins ever have a solo career? Did I nail that one?
The answer is yes to that question directly, but this specific instance, no.
Okay. I'm going to say not her, but I don't know which Taylor.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm about to Google like what other Taylors there are.
That's okay. That was written by Corey Taylor. The song is called Snuff by the band Slipknot. There you go.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
So if somebody is like wearing their sunglasses at night, I may be able to guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, give me the next one.
I mean, don't mess around with a guy in shades, you know. That's what I would say. All right. Everybody's so punk on the internet. Everyone's unbothered till they're not. Every joke's just trolling and memes. Sad as it seems, apathy is hot. Everybody's cutthroat in the comments. Every single hot take is as cold as ice.
Yeah, see, one of the things that's it's either throwing me off or informing me is somebody's tweet that said that this new album may be proof that that NFL CTE is sexually transmissible. Because I know people will like laud her for her lyrics previously, but then like, you know, even though I wasn't looking at specifics, I did, you know, at the outset get I got the message from that, you know, that tweet. So like normally I would be saying, no, she's not putting the word meme. She's not putting the word meme in the album.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
It's not James Taylor.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to say this is 2025. We're all on the other side of, you know, Elon being in the White House. So we all have a certain amount of brain damage that, would, I think I mentioned shrapnel earlier in this episode. Part of the shrapnel of that whole moment is possibly the word meme may have ended up in Taylor Swift's mind to put on an album. So I'm going to say it's her.
It is. It is from the song Eldest Daughter.
Nice. Okay.
Nice. Well done, sir.
I'm gonna have to listen to this tomorrow. I'm kind of digging the two that have been true so far.
it's something. It's certainly a mark in history. I'll say that.
Okay. So you've heard the album.
I have. Having a 9-year-old subscribes me to such things. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
9-year-old girl, I should say. All right, next one. There's a song that they sing when they take to the highway, a song that they sing when they take to the sea, song that they sing of their home in the sky. Maybe you can believe it if it helps you to sleep, but singing works just fine for me.
Is this one James Taylor?
This is James Taylor.
Okay. Yeah.
You caught my foreshadowing. Excellent.
Yeah, I was. I felt a little. Who did we talk? Let's see now. It's getting late. I'm blank. I'm starting to blank on names. But we had mentioned the Rainbow Connection author. I think last time we were speaking together, and that had a little bit of those kind of storyteller vibes to it.
Totally. And that was the song Sweet Baby James by, as you said, James Taylor.
There we go.
All right, let's do 2 more here, and we'll get on to our last little segment here.
Okay, I got to buckle down.
All right.
Do you recall my score, or I think I've got 3, right? I thought I might be even at 3 and 3.
I'm going to give you 3.5 because I thought you were pretty close on that Taylor Dane one. For coming out of the gate. You said it is an 80s pop song, and yeah, I mean, if you had got Taylor Dane, I'd be kind of worried about you.
Okay.
All right. You want to tell me a secret? You think I'm going to find out? You tell a lie, you should keep it. Don't want to know where it's leading. Don't want to follow you around. My first mistake was believing. Don't leave me drowning in your Sunday rain. It's right down the drain. I go. Don't leave me drowning in your Sunday rain. It's always a shame. Oh no.
See, now my thinking right now is is she including her breakup style songs when this is the opposite of a breakup moment. So yeah, I'm gonna say not her, and I'm gonna say Corey Haim.
It is definitely not her.
Okay.
It is the song called Sunday Rain by the Foo Fighters. The lyrics were sang and written by Taylor Hawkins.
Wow, man! I should have held on to that card.
Yeah. I looked up. He does have a solo. He did, I should say, have a solo project, but nothing really stood out on there. So, yeah, I elected to go at least with a Foo Fighters song, not to make it too obscure.
All right.
Let's do one last one here, and let's see if you can't go bat 400 on this one. I think you will. I heard you call me boring Barbie when the Cokes got you brave.
Okay. I think this is her, because again, it sounds like a diss track thing. And now that I'm talking about I think she may be redirecting the energy of breakup songs that she can't do because she doesn't want to spook, the
Mr. Kelsey.
the farm animal that is. Yeah, she doesn't want to have to explain that not this song is not about us.
Yeah.
So maybe she's redirecting that energy at like telling other women off rather than men.
Correct. So you're thinking it's
I think it's her.
Okay. Well, you're correct. It is from the song, a repeat on this list, actually, from the song Actually Romantic, which is a diss track geared at Charlie XCX.
And what did Charlie XCX ever do to her?
What didn't she do?
She didn't have a brat summer like the rest of us?
I mean, not all of us can.
That was Charlie.
Some of
right?
us just have regular summer camps, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you did pretty good there. 4 out of 10. That's good enough for Hall of Fame.
Okay, that was Charlie XCX. I did listen to that Brad album. That was pretty good.
Basically it's summed up as Swift's narrator expresses her amazement and enjoyment of another woman's attention on her, talking about how, basically her name's in that other woman's mouth all the time for the attention of it. So,
Yeah,
I guess, well, sure. Huh?
Again, Kendrick and Drake it is not, but like I said, you gotta find an outlet sometimes for things you're not allowed, right? Like, yeah, I understand.
Every diss track can be Citizen Kane. It's fair.
I get it, Taylor.
right, exactly. Well, shall we?
Incredible. We've arrived once again.
We've arrived. You've made it through the sea of Taylors. Ladies and gentlemen.
I will definitely have to listen to that album now that I'm allowed.
That was Taylor Made, brought to you by I don't know what, but it was brought to you. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Let me pop open the random number generator here.
All right. So again, to recap, we're kind of taking the mentality at this point of having a couple in the chamber all at one time. Next episode will be Prince's Purple Rain. After that will be an album from Can. Do you recall the title?
I believe it's Ege Bamyasi. EGEBOMYSI, I think.
Yes, basically it translates to canned okra.
All right. And once again, I am confirming I'm spinning 1 through 500, not 1 through 100 like I did that one time.
Yes, that one time.
Okay. I've got my number spinning here. Oh, is this I know this is from the Elephant episode. Yeah.
Blind Blake.
There you go. All right, hitting stop. The number I've got is 160. Ooh. 160. And that's the link I don't have. So I have to pop open our version of the list. Okay. Can you read the description without totally tipping your hand there?
Yes, only because you and I'd be stunned if you knew this one, because I know I don't. I know the name, but I don't know it.
Okay.
The first Scream album to feature Manny throughout also marked the arrival of My Bloody Valentine's Kevin Shields. Agate Prop never sounded so motoric.
Oh, okay. So I feel like I can guess. I feel like I can guess the band, and I'm gonna take a shot at the album name too. It's Primal Scream, right?
Correct.
Okay, and is the album Exterminator?
It is.
Nice. Okay, got it.
Are you familiar with that one?
I know the band, and I saw that. I feel like we talked to Alan Woodhouse about that one, or somebody.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody had brought it up previously.
Okay, I thought so too.
Plus, I've just from scrolling through the list and seeing all the names and stuff, I'm sure I've seen it at least once. Okay, yeah, that's super interesting. the main thing I know Primal Scream from is being there's a UFC fighter, Dan Henderson, who used to walk out to one of their songs like all the time.
Oh, interesting.
And that's I mean, I think that's going to be one of those ones where I pop it open and on like Spotify, and I hear like the top 2 or whatever of their most famous songs, and I'm like, oh, right.
So, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I've got no reason to.
Yeah. So there's, I think it's kind of became like this all-star amalgamation of like late 80s Brit rock heroes, where it's like guys from Stone Roses, My Bloody Valentine, Jesus and Mary Chain, like all kind of came together to this. So it'll be a really fun one to get into the history, and really, I could be wrong off that. So don't quote me on that. I'm very, very new to this band.
Yeah, speaking of Jesus and Mary Chain, they are just a little bit ahead in the list. So Primal Scream Exterminator is number 160. Number 157 is Jesus and Mary Chain's Psycho Candy. A little bit ahead of that is Prodigy's Music for the Jilted Generation, which we have covered. Let's see, and now
we got dual PJ Harvey up ahead, actually.
Yeah.
154 and 151.
And then skipping a little more ahead at 147, I forgot this was on the list, even though I have apparently written notes about it. But Frank Ocean's Channel Orange. I'll be excited to cover that someday. That's a really cool, interesting album.
Well, 162 is The National Boxer.
Yeah.
164 is Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. And 166, Pulp, This Is Hardcore.
Oh.
But no,
yeah. So, yeah, interesting.
So
Number 168 is Portishead's Dummy. 170, Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream.
Right, we're in good territory here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and then a little bit further back, 173, Led Zeppelin 3, which we've covered.
Hey, we did that.
I'm still waiting for the day when we hit the number that we've already hit before. It may not happen for a long, long time, but every single time I feel like I'm like, oh, this is going to be it.
We're getting there. Eventually we'll start running out of numbers.
All right. Well, folks, if you want to do your homework for upcoming episodes, number 1, throw on both the album and the movie, Purple Rain by Prince. The movie, if you're having trouble finding it, is actually available on the Internet Archives. Somebody's VHS rip is available there.
Wow.
And I will say, as nice as it is to have 4K Blu-ray releases and rips as we do, I feel like Purple Rain is meant to be seen on a VHS rip. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
I think it's not a bad thing to check in and see just how great the transfer looks on the high def formats, and how nice Prince looks because he's a nice looking guy. But if you really want the vibes and you want authentic, of the time, I think you would do worse than going to that Internet Archive copy.
Order some Dominoes and watch it as you would on a VCR.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bust out the CRT TV or something like that.
Now you're talking. There you go.
Oh yes. So do that. After that, put on Cannes Ege Bamyase. And now, if you really want to get ahead of things, Primal Scream's Exterminator, which I will put on after Taylor Swift's Life of a Showgirl.
Yes. Well,
so I might also contract CTE. As if staying up at 2 a.m. talking about all this doesn't do it, then
I mean, that might really hammer the nail in the coffin on that one. Yeah. So we've had plenty of words on this episode, but any final words as we head out and embark upon new musical journeys?
Just that I'm excited at the prospect of, number 1, having a season 1 to refer to, and being very proud of the kind of library of what's in there, and looking forward to season 2 and what new things and new ideas and new albums we'll be able to listen to and talk about.
Totally. I absolutely would agree with that.
And once again, thank you to all the guests we've had, because when we first started putting together the notes for this episode, one of the first things I did was I put that list together of all the people who have been on, and I was frankly shocked.
Yeah, right.
The list is that long. We've been going for like almost a year, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe that many people have decided to come on and talk to us.
We're about a week shy of Halloween as of recording this, and we started the 2nd or 3rd week of January. So yeah, it's just 10 months.
Getting there. We've
been doing it, and this I think will be like the 46th episode overall we put up. So pretty good.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, and I guess on that note, I would say as of recording, we have 945 listens. I know some of those are us, but to each and every one of those, whether it was 5 minutes or 5 hours or all the episodes,
to the other 45 people, thank you very much.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Much appreciated, for letting us poison your ears with our verbal diarrhea and
totally.
onset CTE.
And I mean, and if it strikes your fancy, we would love if anybody out there wanted to email in and tell us, like, if there's parts of the show that you hate or parts of the show that you love and you want to hear again. Because literally, I think the only thing that we've got feedback on is like
the football.
Yeah, one of the guests was it Hudson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hudson Ludy told us that he enjoyed the segment where we assign bands to football teams. So because maybe because that's our only feedback, we've definitely kept that one going almost to completion. So
oh my god, I almost forgot. I'd really like to thank our roster of sponsors for the first season too.
Right. We got to keep our lights on, and it costs money.
Whether it was Rentabilly, Colonel Morrissey, Werner Herzog coming on to hawk his sausages. I mean, it was just a dream come true just to be partnered with such amazing brands.
The Little China Grill.
Oh God.
Andre 3K's sandwich spreads.
That's right. The Bongs Over Bad Dad.
Yes. What was the toy company? Was it the Pretty Hate Machine toy company?
Oh, God, I think so. Yeah, Pretty Hate Machines.
Yeah. I don't even remember how that one related to the episode. It might have just been.
I don't think it did. Yeah, it's okay.
I'm trying to. Yeah, we mentioned Colonel Morrissey, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry for talking so much crap about Vauxhall. We do appreciate your authentic Texas barbecue joint, though.
It's true, we do. But no. On that note, any musical requests on the way out?
I don't know if you've got it down, but there was on our covers episode, there was a guy who came in to he came in live in studio to do the outro music. Now I know we've heard Mr. Bob Dylan a few times, but was there anybody else who had wandered in during that session?
Well, I think we finally had him sign off on the rights. So without further ado.
Yeah, I had requested it a few times, but I remember we weren't allowed. So
yeah. Here's Mr. Dave Mustaine of Megadeth.
Don't want to be the weekend lover. And this is the end of the episode covers.
Wow, I can't believe it. Well, we had shouted. I had shouted him out so many times during the Cleveland Browns segment there. I think he owed it to us to let us finally play that one.
Yeah, we gave him the extra bump too with the Speed News segment. Rest in peace. Always having the bass line on there for Peace Cells.
Yeah, maybe that one will come back someday soon.
Very soon.
All right. Well, without further ado, good night, everybody.
Au revoir.